It's March 19th, 2025. I am at Joel Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. A wonderful Wednesday morning to you and to everyone listening. It's sunny and beautiful in the city of Toronto, so I am in a good mood. And Jeremy Lambert is here, so I am in less of a good mood. So,
wow.
No, I'm kidding. I like Jeremy. So we're here. We're clear. We're going to talk about everything. How are you?
Well, I'm probably going to cough throughout the show, but what can you do? I'm battling still.
I've got that tickle in the back of my throat going on. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, it's it'll get you. It'll get you.
Well, the kid was sick on Sunday. He basically just he had a fever, and then we gave him more cowbell, and he was fine the next day. Monday he goes to school. Tuesday he goes to school. He had come home okay, but then ran a fever. And basically, all this to say, we're pretty sure he just caught a daycare cold, which is like pretty par for the course. And of course, once the kid comes home sick, well, mom and dad are going to get sick. So maybe that's what's going on. I hope not, but we'll see. For now, children. Why bother?
Yeah.
That's why you just walk away when they're like, I'm pregnant. And you're like, are you though? And you just walk away.
So what you going to do about it?
That sounds awful. I love being a dad. People very much know that I quite enjoy the responsibility, and as do you. So let's give ourselves that at least.
Oh, when a woman tells you she's pregnant, you got two options, Joel. Oh, so happy. This is so great. I'm so in love. This is fantastic. Or, so what you gonna do about it?
Awful. Let me tell you what's not awful. At 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we're going to have Joe DeFalco join us. Who's Joe DeFalco? He is the guy behind FSW. Why should you know about FSW? They're putting on a show very, very soon. It's called the Benefit for Bey. The Benefit for Bey. It's a benefit wrestling show for Chris Bey. There are talent are going to be from every single company. I'm talking WWE, AEW, TNA, I believe some MLW, plus the Indies. Everyone is involved with this. Karrion Kross is coming over from WWE. Who's coming over from AEW? Was it Ricochet?
Ricochet and Swerve.
There you go. Again, a lot of talent going to be there, and we're going to have Joe on the show. 11:30 a.m. Eastern is the plan. Talk about that. And Joe also does a podcast about Vegas wrestling and all about the stuff he does with FSW. So looking forward to having a chat with him. And of course, looking forward to you leaving a thumbs up on the video. Why haven't you done it yet? Huh? Come on, get ahead of it. There's the pyro. It's nice and early because it's a beautiful day today where we are. Hopefully it is where you are too. So leave a thumbs up and subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked, because we are marching towards higher numbers and higher opportunities. At least that's what I've been told. And also, you can go ahead, donate a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air, and it supports us here and all of our creators on this channel. It's us, but there's also SP3, and then we got Kylie and Collins, and then we got Rob and Maggie. And am I missing anybody? Are those all of our people? Those are our people. Wonderful people, the best people. That's Fightful Overbooked. So go ahead, subscribe to us. Henry saying it's a beautiful day for Joel to hate on AEW. Well, every day is a beautiful day in that case, let me tell you. Jeremy, it's over.
What's over?
The Bryce saga has ended.
Oh. Do you need to go sit in the other chair to tell the story? Okay. This
is my iPhone 15.
Okay.
That, by the way, is not the web camera that I use for the show. That's a different one. My actual camera is that one. Anyway, yes, I got an iPhone 15. Ignore the case having a weird back, but I got a 15. I ended up paying a couple dollars more for it because I was going for a 14 Pro before. So what happened? This apparently happened to... What are you doing? Stop it.
Your computer's yelling at you.
Yeah, my computer's like, you have stuff to restart. Anyway, they apparently had a lot of people buy this particular erroneous iPhone that I had purchased. And much like you with your pregnancy nod to what are you going to do about it, I had a conversation and I said, what are you going to do about it? And this is what they did about it. So I got it. It's done. That's all I care about. And I got to send back the 11 Pro eventually. They'll get it back soon.
You should hold on. You should hold it hostage.
That was my initial plan.
You should start like sending in videos of like, if you want this 11 Pro, you're going to send me a new case. You're going to send me a new charging port because they changed the chargers for the new ones. Like I ran into that issue with my new one as well. So like we got like these 20 feet charging cables for the old ones, and now those are no good for the new one that I have. So you should hold the phone hostage and get you a charging cable out of it at the very least.
That is the one thing I have plenty of are USB-C cables.
Oh, okay. Well, get me. How about that?
Come back here and maybe I'll get you one.
I left my charging cable there, didn't I?
You legitimately did. It's very funny.
I was gonna say, I think I did leave one of my charging cables there. So, oh well, what can you do? You have it. You're holding that hostage
Right here.
That's mine, everybody. Joel
yours.
has it. I have your bus pass somewhere.
Yeah, that thing's useless. It's already been canceled.
I figured.
The Toronto Presto card.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, what is this? My wife just
send me back my charging cable, Joel. I need that.
No, you don't. Also, it's a light. You're not going to need it anyway because you're getting a new phone anyway.
And, well, I have a new phone.
You have it.
The new one. Yeah.
So this is a lightning cable.
Yeah, but other people got. Yeah, okay. Other people have this phone here, Joel. Other people got the iPhone with the lightning cable. I got 12 kids. You don't think they got phones?
That is a valid point. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about. Listen, my kid is too young to have one of those. So what am I thinking?
They all got phones. All 12 of them. Even the tiniest one. They got a little phone
I've met
too.
the tiniest one. I get it.
She's the one who needs it the most.
Allegedly. Henry's saying sell it back to them. So I mentioned my former employer. I looked into just turning around and selling this particular iPhone to them. It ended up not being worth it. They weren't going to pay as much for the price that I paid. They were close, but not enough for me to just sell it to them and cut my losses dealing with buy spray. Everything's fine. Everything's done. It's literally one less thing I have to worry about now. And now I can focus on the computer parts, which I've already figured out what I'm going to do. We'll talk about that later when I get there. Because my MacBook Air is on it's not going to last.
Oh.
Not for the stuff I'm doing. Windows 11, by the way, is not what's going into business for itself. I'm still on Windows 10. My computer will not upgrade to Windows 11 for several reasons.
I don't know what Windows I use because I don't use my computer anyway, like my desktop for all that much. You know, it used to be when we would do Twitch streams and gaming, I would do that, but then got too many kids and I haven't even turned on my PlayStation 5 just to like casually game in like a month now. So I remember the last time I actually played like a video game. That's what happens, folks. So yeah, I don't use the Windows computer all that often outside of just like I have a show on here and a show on there because there's two monitors sitting up here that nobody can see. So that's basically what it's used for, is to just have multiple shows going on at once. That's it.
If anybody wants to buy this 2017 MacBook Air, you can buy from me. You know what the best part of it is? Let me just open this up.
Don't drop it.
Boom. Arabic keyboard.
Oh.
Yes, that's right. You can get an Arabic keyboard, Arabic and English.
That's fine. Henry, I have College Football 25. I haven't played it since I probably played it earlier this year because I just turned it back on. It was during like the college football playoffs. I was like, let me play some college football. So that was probably the last time I played it. So like the first week of the year is when I played it. But it's been a good, legitimately like a month since I turned on my PlayStation 5. And the only thing I play anyway is like NBA and NHL. And I just haven't had the desire to really play either of them. Like I'm not going to get WWE 2K. I got last year's game and I played that thing for maybe a grand total of like 30 minutes or so. I don't video game too much. I had MLB The Show last year and I played that a lot when it first came out, but then the new games come out. And so I start playing those. Like I'm not going to play MLB this year. I don't like buying the sports games in consecutive years because it is typically the same game. So I don't like playing the same game over and over. So that's where I usually take a year break from games. Like there are roster updates, which is fine, but I don't care that much for the roster update. The only game I buy every year is basically NBA 2K. And I played it so little this year that we'll see about where I go next year.
Well, all right then. I have my Switch that I have not touched in a while, and eventually I'll start playing it again.
I want to start playing. I have it. It's on my Mac, so I can literally play it while we're doing the show and not pay attention to you.
As is tradition.
Yeah, I want to start playing Pro Wrestling Sim because I know it's like I like TEW and I want to play TEW, but the fact that there's like no Mac version of that game still and it's 2025 is super annoying. And I know like I can run Parallels, like I have a virtual machine on my Mac. So like I can run it. That's not the issue. It's just a hassle and it slows down my Mac, and like this is my work computer as well. So I don't really want to slow down my work process by running a Windows processor at the same time just to play TEW when basically it's going to run in the background most of the day because I don't have a ton of time to sit down and like really dig into my booking like I used to be able to do. But Pro Wrestling Sim is at least Mac compatible. So if it runs in the background, it's not going to completely eat up space and memory and processing.
I used to play EWR and then I stopped. Most sim games, I just stopped playing. I could get deep into it and then I was just like, I can't keep doing this. It's killing me. Like, because I'm such a completionist, I sit and I agonize and I just can't. So I stopped. I had to cut myself off. Hard cuts.
I had such a good, this was years ago. Like this was pre-Ohio, to tell you how long ago it was, which is pre-COVID. So I had such a deep TEW save. I started there was an 85 mod that was really good. And I think it was like two TEW games ago too, because it wasn't the latest and it wasn't the one before that. So it was like 2016 maybe. But I started in 85 and I got up to like 91 in that sim. Like I was a good 5-6 years into that thing. It was really good too. I was very happy with all the progress that I made. And that was probably the deepest I've gone in like any TEW save is like a good 6 years. And like I started with WWE and just built up and had multiple shows and just tried to rid the wrestling world of everybody else.
And now you just play No Mercy.
That game sucks.
But how dare you? I can't. We've already done it. You did a video on it. People were really mean.
Yeah, people were mad.
People were really mad. I don't know what you did, but you really angered that fan base. Good for you.
So, Senior Nerd asking what the hell is the island thing in 2K25 and why is everybody saying it sucks? So, I've not played the island, so I'm not going to give like full of like, oh, what is this? I don't know how good or bad it is, but Grace is mentioning like, so NBA 2K has the same thing. It's called The City. And like, you just, my wife, when she sees me playing and she's like, aren't you supposed to be playing basketball? Why are you like running around and like just running through town and doing things? Like, don't you have basketball games to play? I was like, yeah, but like it's the city and you're supposed to like run and do different objectives. You can like race go-karts in the NBA city. It's like, this is what we need in a basketball game, like go-kart racing. But I assume I think the island is like the same gist, if I'm not mistaken, is you run around and you probably complete stupid tasks and you try to like level up your person, and it takes you forever if you actually like want to do that without paying a ton of money. I'm sure some people actually try to grind that, but I also assume most people probably spend an extra like $100 so they can level up their online person to be 99 overall and they can win the matches. Because that's what happens in the NBA game is like you try to play against other people and my dude's like 75 overall because I'm not spending more than the already $90 it costs to play the game, so I can have a good character to play. And I'm like, I'll just grind it. But then you play against other people who are already like 99 overall, like within an hour the game is released. It's like, well, this isn't fun. You You're already too good. So I hate that basically all sports games have become just these giant money grabs. And like Ultimate Team, EA has ruined all of their franchises with Ultimate Team. I've never spent a dime on that. I never will. I don't even spend time playing it because if you grind for cards, like you just don't get anything good. Like you have to pay to get good cards. Sorry, EA, I don't want to pay $100 so I can use Peter Forsberg in my EA Ultimate Team hockey. So yeah, and then the my career stuff, people pay a bunch of money for virtual currency so they can upgrade their players, and I don't have time for any. I like playing franchise mode. That's it. And nowadays, development teams don't put all that much care and attention into the offline modes because they don't make money in the offline modes.
What else are you going to play on an airplane? This sucks. I hate it. The offline modes aren't working, so why are you even bothering playing on a plane?
Like they work. It's just I think NBA like 2K does a pretty decent job with their offline stuff. Like they got some depth to it, especially because you can like import old draft classes and things like that. The EA games have like nothing. Like the EA offline modes just completely suck. And then they try to tell you every year, like, oh, here's our new improvements. And it's like this stuff was in the game. Excuse me. This stuff was in the game like 20 years ago. Now you're just like re-adding it because you took it off. Oh, yeah, the offline modes, there's just not enough attention to them. And that's why the games lose value so quickly for me, is because I don't play the online modes. And so like once I'm done diving into like an offline mode for a few weeks, it's like, there's not a whole lot to accomplish anymore. It's just kind of over.
Man, now I never am going to buy AEW Fight Forever. I just saw that it's $29.99 Canadian on Amazon, but I'm not going to play it online. I mean, most people are not playing it anyway.
Yeah,
but
most people are playing it online anyway. So.
But now I saw it. Someone was like, you can get it on it was on Steam for like $3. So people were tagging me, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I want the Switch version, which I'll never play because I never play my Switch to begin with these days. But like my next jaunt, I'll probably play like another Mario game that I haven't played in years because I can't keep playing Odyssey. Odyssey is going to be the death of me. But because, again, I'm a completionist, I need all those moons that people are trying to get. So with Fight Forever, I saw that it's gone down to $29.99 on Amazon for Switch. I still can't pull the trigger on it because of everything we've talked about. Yeah, like Henry's saying, Steam had a big deal, and people were tagging me on it, and I appreciate that. I wanted the Switch version because I'm not going to play it on my computer. I just don't care enough to do that. I need to do it somewhere else, not at my desk.
I imagine the Switch version is kind of trash, though.
They're probably all trash. That was also the problem with like 2K when WWE was still releasing them on Switch. It didn't have the capacity. The Switch wasn't powerful enough to actually play the game properly. The next Switch, the Switch 2 that's dropping in April, hopefully will have a little bit more power to run those games. But like even that's still up in the air. Nobody knows if it'll play those like AAA titles.
Yeah, sports games on like Switch just aren't worth it. Like I had NBA 2K on the Switch because it was like a deal. It was like $10 or something. So I was like, okay, fine. I think I played that thing for like once because once you play it on console, there's no real comparison. Like the Switch is just so buggy and so laggy. It's like it's a high capacity game. Like that's why it's meant to play on console. So yeah, playing those themes on Switch just isn't worth it.
Yeah, Jason's saying in the chat, I got Fight Forever for free from PSN. Tried it once, not good. And that's just how it goes. If they do another release, I hope it's better. But for now, it's like I can't bring myself to even drop $15. It has to go down to 10. It has to go down to bargain bin $5, $10, and I'll actually maybe pull the trigger.
I mean, the fact that like they haven't even like talked about another game is probably pretty telling that they ain't putting a lot of resources into it because the first one, I don't know how well it sold or didn't sell. Again, there was no real numbers to it. I know like online was dead after like the first month of the game, and they tried to They tried to do DLC packages and everything, but even the DLC was behind a game that was already behind, and yeah, there wasn't, because the offline was pretty dead, and there wasn't a whole lot of. That's the thing with 2K. I will give them like some credit for, is you can do a lot of like offline stuff with it. Like if you're going to play the showcase mode, you're going to play the universe mode, you're going to play the GM mode. Like there's a lot of customization options. I do think 2K, and I just said this about the NBA games. Like I do think they do very well with their offline stuff, especially compared to EA. And that's why I get NBA 2K every year, because the customization is really good. And like there is something to dive into for offline players. And that's where WWE games do a good job too, is like you can customize a lot of good stuff in there. With the Fight Forever, like there was no customization. Like your creator wrestlers weren't all that deep and detailed. You played the road to the elite. Like if you played through that one time, you didn't need to play through it again. It was a one and done type thing. And then otherwise, like there was nothing else to do. Like they tried to basically sell the mini games for more than anything. And once you played the mini games a couple of times, it was like, all right, that's kind of over as well.
I don't know if the demographic, the AEW demographic, also played a role in this, because like you can say that that WWE games have a lot of like a lot of people, not kids, like a lot of modders and things like that, and that's a big deal. But also like a lot of kids like to play the games too, whereas AEW like doesn't really, they don't promote to that fan base, to the kid fan base as much. And they didn't have the modders, and people are saying in the chat, felt like an incomplete game, or I want to do creator wrestlers, but it was a chore. It wasn't a really robust creator wrestler template that AEW offered. So at that point, was the failure that they don't market to kids, and they didn't have the thing that would make the older fans want to play? Was that part of the reason why the game failed, alongside all the other things that we just talked about? It was an incomplete game. Things were behind. The wrestlers were coming out on expansion packs that had already either changed characters or gone away or whatever it was. It was just not a really well produced rollout.
Yeah, the rollout was definitely an issue. I mean, look, it was cool that Punk and Cody were in the game, but they were, Cody was way into WWE by that point. I don't remember how close Punk was to WWE, like, because I don't remember exactly when the game came out and then Punk's return, but I feel like it was pretty close to, it being Punk being back in WWE. Yeah, the Toni Storm stuff where she was timeless, and then they released Rocker Toni Storm. It's like, great, I want to play as timeless Toni Storm at this point. And then there were just people who weren't in the game. I still think like the gameplay of that game was fun, and 2K took some stuff from that gameplay with a lot of the catch reversals and things like that. So there was value in the game that made it fun. I think their big selling point was it's the No Mercy engine. Basically, they're like, oh, this is going to give you No Mercy nostalgia here. And once you got past that, it's like, okay, cool. No Mercy was great. It sucked in my opinion. No Mercy was great when it came out, but it also came out 25 years ago. I guess 23 by the time this came out. It was 22. 2 decades ago, we'll say. How about that? It also came out 2 decades ago, and June 29th, 2023. All right. Yeah, Punk hadn't left WWE or AEW just yet. But
he had barely come back.
Yeah.
Because Collision started like mid-June, right, that year. So then he came back, and then all the stuff happened around All In, and then he was gone by September. So you've got about 2.5 months, almost 3, with Punk being a new character in the game.
So my point going back was the whole marketing was, hey, it's the No Mercy engine. Again, No Mercy was 2 decades old, which is like cool for fans who played No Mercy, but 20-year-olds hadn't played maybe hadn't played No Mercy, so they didn't quite get what the big deal of was with that. And video games have changed so much in those 20 years. Like, yeah, 20 years ago when we were creating wrestlers, like the option seemed cool. It's like, oh, it might be limited, but we could still kind of create who we want and things like that. But now when you have the WWE 2K games and even like Fire Pro, like when you can do those customization options, like the AEW customization options were really lacking because you couldn't create people who you wanted to create or wanted to try to create. So basing your whole game off of a game that was popular 20 years ago, don't think was exactly the right move.
This kind of plays into my point too, right? Marketing to kids versus marketing to the modders. The modders were that age that played No Mercy when they were kids, but then the modding wasn't good enough, so that they didn't get into it now. And then the kids didn't play No Mercy, so they didn't actually have an attachment to this new engine that they were touting. So again, it was just a marketing snafu in a lot of ways. But anyway, it's a lot of talk just to come back to playing video games and selling phones.
Draw's mentioned he still plays NHL 09 with a ton of mods. I still play. This is on a PS3 emulator that I have. I'll play like the NHL 2K games because those were great until EA kind of sapped the market of them. But I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I love the goalie mode in the NHL 2K games. And for some reason, EA has had, again, like 2 decades to try to figure this out, and they cannot do it. The goalie mode, when you try to play the NHL EA games, just sucks. Like maybe you'll make a save, maybe you won't. The goalie will flop out of position. You'll get beat on every single wraparound because they can't figure out like when to hug a post and all this stuff. It's just awful, and I hate it. Like I really want to play goalie because I think it's super fun to play goalie in NHL games because if you're playing like a normal game anyway, you're going to be all the forwards and the defensemen and stuff. So playing goalie is a nice like change of pace. And the 2K game had it like really figured out of how to play like goalie and make you feel like you're making good saves and like you're in control of whether or not the puck goes in. And for some reason, EA in 20 years still has not figured this out. Like just copy the 2K style. Who cares at this point? 2K is not making NHL games. Just copy their style and give the player control over making saves because your style right now just sucks because I feel just like super helpless. I'll be in like good position and like you just won't make a save. Or, oh, I hate it when like I'll make the save and then I'll drop down to like the butterfly and then I'll just kick it into my own goal. I'm like, great. I'm being punished for actually playing the game correctly and making a save correctly. Like it's so dumb. Yeah, the Gray's mentioned 2K games were better than Madden. Oh yeah, NFL 2K, so good. Those were like $20 too, because 2K was like, fuck, we're gonna make all our game $20 and we'll just sell more because you're not gonna want to keep buying Madden. The 2K games were great. Like I'm glad the NBA still has the 2K property or vice versa. I wish they had an NHL property and an NFL property because I feel like they would make, because for all the flaws NBA 2K has, and like there are still plenty, I will still take those games over the EA games any day. Yeah, the depth and the customization of the 2K games is still really, really good, especially compared to the 2K games.
NHL Hits, NFL Blitz. Those are the only 2 sports games I ever needed. Never needed none of the official. Yeah, I never needed any of the like official titles where you got to do 5-on-5 and icing means something. No. I wanted the we're gonna beat people up and score points and the rules don't matter. Just go to town. Those were my favorite games. I loved that.
Oh yeah, we played Hits on stream all the time. I still love Hits. Yeah, like it's just arcadey fun. And like EA tries to do that because they have like, oh, here's 3-on-3 arcade action. It's like, you're still like playing a game. It's just 3-on-3. It's not actual arcade. Yeah, Ryan mentioned Street, NBA Jam, all those games were great. Yeah, I love the NBA Street games, and those were Those are fantastic. The NFL street games I didn't like quite as much. They were really good. They were really fun. But I love the NBA street games. I like Blitz, and that's probably why I like Blitz more than NFL Street, because I grew up on playing Blitz. So
Man, I miss those games.
yeah,
I'm
they
gonna
were
go
really
back and
fun.
play some. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and play some.
Maybe I'll
when I log into
fire
our
up.
Twitch.
Say
Maybe
that
when I
again.
can log into our Twitch again.
Oh, maybe I'll fire up my emulator today and actually play for 5 minutes if I don't have too much work to do, which I'll probably have too much work to do.
I mean, all the news has been dropping for the last day and a half. I mean, this morning alone, WWE announced that they're going to be returning to Europe in August. They're going to be doing a tour of the Road to Clash in Paris. Notably, they're going to be having the August 22nd edition of SmackDown at the 3 Arena in Dublin. August 25th, Raw will take place at the BP Pulse Live in Birmingham, UK. And then Lyon, France is going to host SmackDown on the 29th, heading into Clash in Paris. That's going to be a fun little jaunt for them. More afternoon episodes of WWE programming coming in the summertime.
They are running a UK tour the same time AEW is going to the UK for Forbidden Door.
Yep. And they announced that there's talk of a Saturday night's main event coming to Houston the same weekend as All in Texas. It's not official yet, but it seems to be coming in closer.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, AEW Forbidden Door London is August 24th. No venue or anything announced yet. Sunday, August 24th, WWE will be in Newcastle. How far away is Newcastle to London? Newcastle, let's see, to London.
The night before, they'll be in Liverpool at the M&S Bank Arena.
It's about 5.5 hours, Newcastle to London. Liverpool to London, if you want to go to a WWE event the night before, is 4.5 hours. So yeah, they're running right around London within shouting distance, a little bit longer, but within distance. Train is only 2 hours if you take a train. This is, driving time here. So yeah, a train, 2.5 hour train ride feels like people do that all the time. So they're within distance of when AEW is running Forbidden Door. And so tickets for these events go on sale. Let's see. Does it say? Oh, it just says pre-sale opportunities. Can I click the pre-sale and see when begins? No, it doesn't say when it'll come. So my guess is they're going to have these things on sale before AEW does. And they are going to look to cut as much as they can from whatever AEW might get. Get people spending money on their shows before they can spend money on AEW.
To do the Newcastle jaunt on a train, weekends are a little hairy, but let's say on a Friday, the cheapest right now, if you were to go this Friday, is $106 for a straight train from Newcastle to King's Cross. So some people might have the money and some people might book in advance. I don't know how that works because I haven't done the UK train system. You can also go to Cheapo Air and fly in, right, Jeremy? I'm sure Paul Heyman will let everybody know.
Mussolini's not going to stop you.
Yeah, nothing's going to stop you now. But hey, that's business. This is what they're doing. This is WWE's got the hot hand. They hold a lot of cards when it comes to touring. And someone in the chat was saying, Henry's saying, explains why TK hasn't released the pay-per-view calendar. And kind of is like, it's not even Fed's going to Fed. Like that's how businesses kind of operate when they're in competition directly with each other. They would do the same thing with the MLB or the NBA or the NHL to a certain degree if they could, but they're also using their arenas to their detriment.
One thing I'm shocked they haven't done yet, for the most part, and I do think we might see it more and more if they listen to this show and they get this idea. So these Saturday AEW pay-per-views, which they're continuing for a little bit, like Dynasty's on a Saturday, I'm pretty sure. Dynasty's on a Sunday, I actually think.
Yeah, it's on a Sunday. It's the 6th of
Yeah.
April.
Dynasty's
Ruined
on
my
a
life.
Yeah. But there will be some Saturday shows coming up. Unfortunately, the next two are on Sunday. That's lame. So All in Texas is on a Sunday or a Saturday, and
Double or Nothing is on a Sunday, but that's also because it's a long weekend. So for them, it's a little more like they're a little cooler to do it. But yeah, the April 6th Dynasty on a Sunday is not my favorite either.
So the Saturday pay-per-views, though, what I was trying to get at, which again, they don't have any of those. They don't start until like football season. But when football season starts, I do wonder if UFC will schedule their pay-per-view events on those Saturdays. WWE won't do it because I think they like to be standalone. Like they're gonna run when they run anyway. But I do think they like to be like standalone on that stuff. I do wonder if TKO will start scheduling UFC pay-per-views for Saturday events and on Saturday events when AEW has an event to try to cut into the AEW pay-per-view market in that way.
I mean, they've got TKO with UFC, they've got WWE, they've got PBR too. Like they could do a Pro Bull Rider campaign or some that stupid new boxing company that they're going to be setting up. That could also all play into this idea. I don't think it's, and again, I don't think it's TKO going directly after AEW and that's the only company they're going to go after. No, they're again, everything is considered competition, but wrestling wise, yeah, AEW is their direct competition when it comes to anywhere close to the numbers and the reach that WWE has. AEW is the second, and it's by a fair margin, but wrestling fans are very connected. They're big fans.
I wish AEW would just keep doing Sunday pay-per-views and start them at like 6:00. Like I know that might be early for people on the West Coast, and it's still maybe a little early, like 7. Okay,
go 7 till 11. That's fine.
Yeah, 7 till 11 is fine.
Show.
Just cut the press conference. That's all I care about. Like 7 till 11 is fine. I still think I just prefer it to end earlier. These like afternoon Raw and SmackDowns have been so nice. Like, oh, nice, my day's over at like 5:30. This is fantastic. So 7's fine. Again, as long as you're gonna cut the press conference and not do a 5-hour press conference afterward. But like the Sunday pay-per-views, because you're gonna have to go against the NFL and on certain Sundays, which fine, you're against the NFL for that part of the year. It's probably better than going up. People are going to watch the NFL regardless. It's probably better than going up like another pay-per-view event if it's like TKO or if it's UFC, which might end up hurting you. Or if WWE is going to schedule stuff, because they schedule stuff, like, they might start scheduling stuff. If they're going to do a Saturday night's main event the same day as All In, then you're running head to head with that. So WWE is not going to run Sunday stuff. They're going to run Sunday shows until they do, but they're not going to run it for now.
I'm curious if they do that Saturday night's main event that runs against All In. Who flinches when it comes to ticket sales? Who flinches when it comes to prices? WWE doesn't really need to right now. And also they'll be running a smaller venue compared to a stadium. AEW clearly wants to have a full packed 45,000 plus stadium. And this isn't, I don't want anyone to get it twisted. I don't think that this is like whoever does this first is going to look bad or like I want them to do this because it's a failure. No, I am genuinely curious. Will it get to a point where if ticket sales for All In are not to the satisfaction of Tony Khan specifically, will their ticketing department start looking at the lower the prices or offer a 2-for-1 deal or whatever versus like Henry's already saying it, All In ticket prices are already being dropped. But I also think that they're going to be a circumstance of dynamic pricing because right now you still have a long runway until you start really getting into All In matches. All Out, when it was in the UK, you had the same thing. Tickets would kind of fluctuate based on what announcements were made and what matches were being made, and Ticketmaster is Ticketmaster. So I'm curious. Do they start offering 2-for-1? Do they start trying to get people to buy a little bit earlier to take away from the potential of going to Saturday night's main event? They've already told you, like, John Cena is going to be part of a Saturday night's main event. Like, that's a big deal for a lot of people, especially this John Cena for some. I'm just curious who does something first, ticket wise, price wise, and does that look bad, or is that just business?
I don't think it looks bad. I think AEW probably does something first because they got more tickets to move. In the case, if we're talking about All In specifically, they got more tickets to move. So they probably need to drop prices and make it more affordable if they're running against Saturday night's main event. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Saturday night's main event eventually has to drop too, because they still want to sell out the show. So the closer you get, if tickets aren't moving the way you hope they do, then you're going to have to make adjustments. But as far as who does it first, it's probably AEW, just because they got to move way more tickets than WWE does.
Yeah, no, I see the point and I agree with it. It's going to be curious. And then I'm sure the bad faith grifters will talk about AEW being a failure because they can't fill 45,000 seat arenas and whatever and stadiums. But I really, again, it's not bad that these two companies are going at it and that they're being competitive. That's helpful for fans. If suddenly you're like, I want to go to All In, but ticket prices are too expensive for me, well, guess what? You might have the opportunity to buy your ticket for All In at a much more reasonable price point for you, because WWE, which you might not even care about Saturday night's main event, the last one wasn't much to write home about. That might incentivize you to go and pay for All In tickets at a much more reasonable cost. I think that's good for fans. I'd be fine with that, but that's people are going to feel how they feel about it. They're not the ones going to the shows.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing if they have to lower ticket prices eventually for whatever reason. They have to lower ticket prices, like fill the stadium.
Yeah, and like to go back to TNA, they had so many down years over so many periods of time that they would paper houses. They give away tickets for free. When I went to Slammiversary, yes, did they have over 4,000 people at that venue in Montreal? Absolutely. Did they then offer everyone who was there a +1 to come to the TV show? Yeah, they did. They said, if you come with this ticket, it was the wedding of PCO and Steph DeLander, if you bring this, you get a +1. You can bring a person to the tapings for free. And that's how they fill the house, because sometimes they already see the benefit of having a full house and they had the money from the night before. You could do the same thing for they're giving away tickets for All In at Dynamite shows. Usually they were doing that in the Texas area, but point is, it's good for fans if you can get a good ticket at a reasonable price. It's not bad if they have to drop the ticket prices. Fill the house.
Were they giving away tickets to All In, or are they just giving away like information?
No, they were giving away, like, not to a lot of people. They would do like a game at ringside type of thing with fans.
Oh,
they would be like, so-and-so wants to, they'll ask like a trivia question, and then they'll give you, here 2 tickets to All In. Yeah, like it's not like they were giving, oh, there you go, Clarksville, Tennessee. Places that are drivable or at least commutable, or what's the word I'm thinking about? Commutable to All In Texas. They would do a special game. Yeah, it's like going to your local hockey game.
They do this all the time.
Yeah, the intermission stuff. But I also like stuff like that. I would like to see more companies kind of have fun with that stuff. It's a stupid rock, paper, scissors game, like Henry's saying, but like at least they're doing something that gets people having fun during the breaks and gets an incentive out of it. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, by the way. I'm sure people will be like, oh, look, they have to give away tickets to All In. Literally every sports team does this. You go to any sporting event, and during timeouts or intermission or halftime or whatever it might be, they put it up and they grab a fan, they play some game on the Jumbotron, and then it's like, you win tickets to the next home game, you win a jersey, like whatever it might be. Literally every single sports team does this. So yeah, I don't want people to misconstrue of like, oh, they're giving away tickets. No, they're playing a little game to help promote the event and say, like, here, you have tickets now. Again, literally every sports team does this. If you don't think a sports team does this, you've never been to a sporting event.
Yeah, exactly.
They do. Oh, it's the funnest thing when yeah, it's fan involvement. It gets I watch, I watch a lot of Thunder games. Thunder up, everybody. And oh, so Ryan's what's the biggest prize you've won in a sports fan? I haven't won anything at a sporting event, but like I watch a lot of Thunder games and they do the half court shot. I know a lot of teams do this, but they do like the half court shot for like $25,000. You can use that money to go on a lunch date with John Cena. But they do a half court shot for $25,000, and like it's the most hype thing in the world. Like when these people shoot the ball, it's like the crowd goes crazy when the ball's like in the air. And if it happens to go in, there was one time, this was years ago. They've been doing this gimmick for a long, long time now. But so this was years ago. Like he made it, and like Russell Westbrook runs on the court and like hugs the fan and everything. It's fantastic. Like it gets the crowd like super hype. And then, somebody wins $25,000. Oh, it's really cool that when they do that kind of stuff during the game. So yeah, every sports team does these like giveaways and whatnot. So I got no problem with AEW doing it. I think it's great.
I don't have $25,000, Jeremy. You mentioned it. $25,000 can get you a lot of things these days. You can pay off some student loans. Maybe you can get a first-class ticket around the world. You can take a nice cruise. You can do a lot of things for $25,000. You go to a nice restaurant, but you know what? You can also go to a nice restaurant, a 5-star restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip over WrestleMania week with John Cena. WWE announced a plethora of events happening in and around Las Vegas, including the John Cena lunch, which we'll touch on, the Cody Rhodes bus tour for a whopping $9,950. $9,950. The Shawn Michaels watch along, which is literally you and Shawn Michaels watch a match. Don't know which one. Don't know who chooses it. If I'm choosing a match with Shawn Michaels to watch, by the way, it's WLC, and that's for $4,950. Not $99,000 for the Cody bus tour. I misspoke. It's almost $10,000. But lunch with John Cena at a 5-star restaurant on the Strip, $25,000. The Cody Rhodes bus tour, almost $10,000. The Shawn Michaels watch along, almost $5,000. Who has that money? First of all, someone does. Someone's going to the craps table and is going to win $25,000 on red, and they're going to be like, "What are you going to do next?" I'm going for lunch with John Cena.
People think these prices are absurd, and they are. But they don't price these things without good intel and insight that they're going to sell them. No one's pricing things thinking, oh, we're not going to sell any of these. We're just going to price ourselves out. Because that's just dumb business. Why would you do that? You price things based on how much you think and how much, again, insight and intel you have, people will spend on this stuff. They're limiting this John Cena thing to 20 people. 20 people are going to spend $25K and do this lunch gimmick with John Cena. And for them, it might be worth it. I don't know. That's a lot of fucking money to go have lunch at a 5-star restaurant with John Cena. It feels like you can go have lunch at a 5-star restaurant on your own and pay for a John Cena meet and greet and not spend that much money. I get it. It's not like an intimate setting, a meet and greet. You shake hands. He tells you suck. You take your photo and he leaves or you leave, and that's it. Much different than having a 2-hour lunch with the guy. Man, that's a lot of money to spend. But again, I don't think they price these things thinking, oh, we're only going to sell 1 or 2 of these things, but it's still going to be worth it. They price these things thinking, we're going to sell out of these. We're going to sell out of all 20 of these at this price because we know there's going to be 20 people willing to spend this much money on this lunch.
This lunch alone can make WWE $500 $500,000, 20 people spending $25,000.
Right. You gotta obviously they gotta pay the restaurant.
Yes, it's not a net. I'm just saying that is the amount of money that is needed to make this both profitable and meaningful.
Yeah. You gotta pay the restaurant. I assume John Cena gets paid something for this. Like
Nah.
On Location gets a cut of it, obviously, and then whatever else you're doing gets some type of money out of it. But it's not like they're getting just $500,000 straight into their pocket because of this lunch, but they're still making a profit off of this thing. $25,000 for a lunch with John Cena. Absolutely absurd. But they're going to sell it.
I wonder where they're going to do it.
Yeah, where's a 5-star restaurant on the Strip, Joel? You're Mr. Vegas.
Yeah, but I'm not like I'm Vegas on the cheap. I'm not Vegas, Vegas number one. There are steakhouses. I'm sure it's going to be a steakhouse. Could be Ocean Prime. Could be it won't be Sinatra. I don't know where it's going to be. I kept thinking like, where is it going to be? Because the whole idea is that also they're not going to tell you where it is because then people will just show up.
Yeah.
They'll probably like tell you meet us here at like Fontainebleau because that's where they're doing all their. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's where the events are. We're going to put you on a bus and we're going to go to this place, or it's going to be the restaurant in Fontainebleau, assuming that's a 5-star restaurant to somebody.
Do you think like John Cena is obviously going to come dressed in like his suit and everything because he always wears a suit at dinner?
Please come in the jorts. Please.
Total Bellas reference.
Yes.
Do you think that like do you think there's like a dress code for this? You're going to see some fan show up with like a hoodie and his title belt and flip flops because it's Vegas in April, so it's probably pretty warm and everything.
Yeah. I don't think. I think they're going to ask for people to show up in business casual, but they're also going to know that some people don't care, and they'll be like, "I spent $25,000. I'm going to show up however I want." And I don't know why they're an abrasive availability, but they are. But that's just the way it is. Like someone's going to show up wearing a hoodie and sweatpants and be like, I want John Cena to sign my title belt and take a photo, dance monkey dance. I don't know. But the one thing I will add, by the way, in that write-up, there was mention of seeing the real John receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. Those are the words, seeing the real John receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. So Fightful Select took to the service as we do, and we then clarified that no, there is no Lifetime Achievement Award that is being given to John Cena as part of this lunch. Something got lost in translation in the write-up, but the lunch is still real. At a 5-star restaurant, $25,000, that's still happening. But whatever that Lifetime Achievement, I don't know where this came from, and I'd love to find out. But no, John will not be receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award unless he's about to be surprised by Make-A-Wish with something.
That's what I thought when
they mistakenly put it out there.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw he was receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award, and then I read of like, okay, what is this Lifetime Achievement Award?
Rock's going to show up with one of those Muhammad Ali belts.
Like, it's just a Lifetime Achievement Award. All right. Like, from who? What? Why? And there was no further details. I thought it was going to be a Make-A-Wish gimmick. And maybe it will be. Maybe it still will be some type of surprise. Very sad that the real John, I hope they bring out a fake John and give him a Lifetime Achievement Award.
There's only one other John, and I don't think they're going to give him anything anytime soon that I can think of.
They got John Bradshaw Layfield.
He shows up to everything.
Yeah.
He shows up, just throws a stiff forearm, takes his Lifetime Achievement Award, says, "Thank you," and then he just walks out wearing his stupid ass duster and hat.
Yeah, that would rule.
That's awful. Ryan Lambert says it's a buffet lunch with Cena at the Bunny Ranch. But the problem is the Bunny Ranch isn't in Las Vegas. It's outside of Vegas. It's not on the Strip. It is a strip, not important. The other ones that are on this docket, we talked about $25,000 lunch with Cena, the almost $10,000 per person Cody Rhodes bus tour experience. Take an unforgettable tour with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. This exclusive Cody Rhodes bus tour will give you a behind-the-scenes look at the electric atmosphere of WrestleMania, complete with personal stories from Cody himself. Oh, God. Get a rare glimpse of the production, fan zones, and restricted areas as Cody shares his experiences and inspirations and mindset leading into WWE's biggest event of the year. Each guest will receive a limited edition commemorative item along with the chance for a brief one-on-one interaction and photo with Cody. So many things I have questions
Do you get to like is it like production bus?
No, this is just his bus, which, by the way, you can go on socials, right? Like, you go to Google right now and just search Cody Rhodes bus tour. There is a 2.5-minute video of Brandy giving a tour of the Cody Rhodes bus. And that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, I've seen this shit.
But it says like go beyond like behind the scenes of like production and stuff.
So that's where I think the Cody Rhodes bus tour is going to be at the venue at Allegiant. And you're going to see a little bit more of the production and setup for WrestleMania on the day of, and no photos or some, I don't know what they're going to do. The personal stories from Cody himself, that makes me laugh because you and I have watched Cody tell stories.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they're entertaining as hell, but they're always a little bit different and a little bit off. And that's the best part.
I'd pay $10,000 just to hear Cody talk if I could do, I could just do an interview with Cody. We'll never pay for a wrestler interview, by the way. We've been asked.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. We've asked people and they've been like, oh, we charge this much for 30 minutes. Like, absolutely not. You got to be kidding me. Sorry. We'll never pay for a wrestler interview. If Cody wants to do an interview, first off, Jensen has to be on the show. I'll pay for a Cody interview. I'll 100% pay for a Cody interview. The stories would be amazing. I'd get him to tell like the dumbest shit ever as well. Because I've heard all the Cody stories. I get him to tell stuff that like he hadn't talked about before. Or I just get him to retell the fuck on you story and just see what new little gimmick he adds to it.
I was wearing a green tie. Oh, but the other thing that really stood out is you're going to get a personal item. Each guest will receive a limited edition commemorative item. And to me, it's like he's going to pick something off of his bus and be like, this is for you. And this is for you. I listened to the Tosh show, right? Daniel Tosh used to do Tosh.0. He's got a podcast now, and he also does a video version. It's very funny, but he always ends the interviews by giving away things from his house that he doesn't like or need anymore. So to me, Cody is like offering these people, like, yes, Ryan in the chat saying a signed half-empty whiskey bottle, like, or a Wheatley bottle. Cool. Like, I don't need this.
Drinking Wheatley with Cody? Are you kidding me? Oh, that's one thing. If we pay for this Cody interview, we're just gonna take shots of Wheatley and Mana. And that's going to be the whole interview. That's it.
You're a menace. Which other bus are you talking about, Lab Class? What are you talking about? Yeah, Cody's going to give people a Snickers wrapper. Here, my kid doesn't fit into this anymore. It's all yours. We're not having another.
He's going to give everybody Rolexes, you know?
I mean, if they were in New York, he could just get a whole bunch of Folexes and give them out.
Imagine if he did that. Cody's a nice guy. Why couldn't he do that?
I mean, it's 30 minutes on Saturday or Sunday. So you know what? That gives credence to it happening at Allegiant Stadium. That'll probably
Isn't the John Cena thing like Sunday afternoon?
The John Cena thing is Saturday morning at 11:30 a.m.
Okay. So imagine they sent this dude to lunch with the 20 fans who spent $25,000 on the day of his last WrestleMania match ever in the main event against Cody Rhodes. That would be insane to send him to do that. It's like, anyway, now tonight you got to go out there and face Cody Rhodes after having lunch at this 5-star restaurant. I know people do like appearances and stuff the day of and stuff, but I imagine like you want to get in like your zone the day of a big match. Like you don't want to be having lunch with 20 fans and like have to really put on. Like I'm not saying John Cena puts on an act, but like you got to be on. You know what I mean? Like if you're with fans who spent $25,000, mind you, like you got to be on during this thing. You're not like just casually having lunch with people like your best friends and everything. Like you got to be John Cena, not a whiny bitch. And then the day of your last WrestleMania match ever. Oh, that would be absurd. Well, at least the day before is a little bit different. Day of, he can hopefully take a nice nap and get into John Cena mode.
You know what I'm looking forward to? Someone on Reddit is going to post, giving away 4 tickets for NXT Stand and Deliver. I had another thing come up. I'm having lunch with John Cena. I can no longer attend this NXT show. So I'm giving these away from the bottom of my heart. And someone's going to be like, can I also borrow $10,000, you rich bastard?
I'm going to do a fake Reddit post on Sunday morning of the day of WrestleMania, Sunday morning, and describe my lunch with John Cena. It's going to be all good things. Like, I'm not going to like bury anything. It's going to be like super nice. I'm going to be like, showed up with my WWE championship. He signed it. He was so nice. Had lunch. Did you know John Cena put ketchup on his steak? I couldn't believe it. Could not believe that John Cena put ketchup on his steak. He gets his steak rare. Appalled that he went with a rare steak.
I'm okay with that.
John Cena was very gassy at the end of this event. Cody better watch out in the main event.
We're going to play 2 truths and a lie from this lunch. By the way, go ahead.
The whole lunch is going to be me doing a Cody lie about my lunch with John Cena. John Cena was snorting protein powder at the end of this thing. Like, Cody Rhodes, I'm the fuck on you tomorrow night. He was fired up. I was like, hell yeah, John Cena, $25,000. I was pumped.
When the check came, John Cena got up and said, I give you nothing. And he walked out of the room. Draws Walker saying, so imagine showing up with a spinner belt to lunch.
I would. Cena. Are you kidding me?
The thing is, so I just have it in my head. There's absolutely whatever restaurant they're going to book this with, the owner and like the head concierge is going to be like, wrestling fans, put them in the back corner. Get them as far away from the regular people. Like you think people dining at this establishment want to see these people? And someone's going to be like, they're paying a lot for this. I'm like, I don't give a shit. They're going to show up looking like trash. I don't need a bunch of wrestling belts on my tables at this restaurant. Scuff up the tables. We don't want this.
If I'm paying $25,000, I assume I have disposable income to buy a spinner belt.
I hope they have disposable income to buy deodorant, but here we are.
I'm coming with that spinner belt, and he's going to sign that damn thing. Crazy. I was shocked when John Cena ordered the Big Mac meal. I paid $25K for dinner with Cena at a McDonald's. So I'll do you one better. Grace. Going to McDonald's would be very funny. Instead, they go to a 5-star restaurant. But Cena comes with a bunch of Happy Meals. He's got a deal with McDonald's. Cena walks in with just 20 Happy Meals, and that's your lunch. You're at the 5-star restaurant. But here comes old John with here's your double cheeseburger. You want apple slices or you want fries? You want water? You want orange juice? Who wants the nuggets? Who wants the McNuggets? I got 6 McNuggets. Anybody want McNuggets instead of a burger? You want the apple slices? You want the fries? We got the yogurt. We got one with a yogurt. Anybody want the yogurt? John's just handing out the Happy Meals. Everybody, go to McDonald's. Everybody, get the John Cena meal at McDonald's. It'll put a smile on your face. I'm loving it, everybody.
He walks in and just goes, ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Get the fuck out.
And he leaves. That's it. He passed out the Happy Meals and leaves. He's like, we broke up months ago. I don't know y'all shit. This is your goodbye dinner.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. The Cody one is good.
He's doing, you can't see me out here, just like that.
Oh, good bet. And then the final one, the $5,000 option, is the Shawn Michaels Watch a Match. So this is on Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. or 7 to 10 p.m. Venue rentals. It's a movie theater in Vegas. Step into the mind of Mr. WrestleMania himself, Shawn Michaels, for an exclusive watch a match experience. Gather in an intimate VIP setting to relive one of Shawn's legendary WrestleMania matches as he provides behind-the-scenes insights, untold stories, and expert analysis. After the viewing, enjoy a moderated Q&A where you can ask the Hall of Famer your burning questions. Those are what that says that. This is your chance to break down a WrestleMania classic with one of the greatest to ever step inside the squared circle. So you don't get to choose the match. Shawn is basically going to do tape study on a match he's already done or knows, and it's probably going to be the Undertaker match. And maybe Taker's going to be up there with a Q&A, make a splash entrance or something. $5,000, please.
Like, money aside, because all these prices are way too absurd for me. Money aside, that's a cool little gimmick. Like, I like, I did the one bit with Jonathan Gresham, watching his match and him like giving insight and breaking it down and stuff. And it was really fun. Like, to me, doing this this thing with Shawn Michaels would be really cool. Again, if I'm not spending that price amount on it, but like, I do think it would be really cool to do something like that. I really like when wrestlers break down their matches and give insight. I think it's a for me, like for my taste in wrestling, it's very fun. So I would do this if the price wasn't so absurd. Yeah, that would be my question, Grace. Legend, HBK. When the fuck are you booking Thea Hale again? Where's Thea Hale, Sean? Why isn't she on Stand and Deliver?
I mean, she could be. Stand and Deliver is still a month away. She could be. She could make her big debut or re-debut. Take out Jada Parker. Take out Stephanie Vaquer. More people can beat up Jordan Grace while she's wearing those ridiculously high heels.
Bro, that ruled. Jordan Grace is fantastic.
She is very
absolutely ruled that she did a full SpongeBob bit on national television.
Not only that, so I saw when she got the shoes and she posted about them and posted the video of her like learning to walk in them, and I was like, oh my god, is she gonna wear those to TV? And sure enough, she shows up doing the whole bit. I'm like, oh, God bless this woman. She does not give a shit. She's great.
Wow. What are they gonna do? They're not gonna fire Jordan Grace.
No one's gonna fire her, but they could be like, "You sure you want to wear those?" It was more actually, what was more not even interesting, but more impressive was that like she took a bump in those things. Like she got knocked over by Jada Parker, and that's when I really noticed she was wearing them. Like, oh shit, she went down in those. Good for her. Good. Jordan rules. Jordan's
fantastic. When I saw that, of course, I did an article on it. I was like, oh man, she's the best. Just doing the whole SpongeBob Patrick bit, and then wearing it on television. I thought the same thing when like I heard her music hit. I was like, is she gonna come out in those giant ass heels and like the Patrick Star top and skirt? Sure enough, there she was. I was like, oh, Jordan doesn't care. She just be doing shit. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Such a good gimmick for her. Anyway, on the NXT front, we can really quickly go through it. Stephanie Vaquer now has a couple of challengers for her North American and her women's championship. She got Fallon Henley for the North American. Jada Parker wants the women's title. Looks like Stephanie Vaquer is going to be a fighting champion, which is something you wanted to see. But it feels like all roads still lead to Jordan Grace at Stand and Deliver. They just have a month to get there and to build Stephanie Vaquer as like this undeniable, unbeatable double champion. You don't think so?
I think she's losing to Fallon Henley next week.
Oh yeah. No, I think she's gonna lose. Like she'll lose one of those titles, being North American, probably to Fallon Henley. It'll probably be like the triple not beatdown, but like the interference finish.
Because it's the second match. They said that the match with Jade is opening the show, and then the match with Fallon is the main event. So that makes me believe they're gonna play up the Stephanie's injured. She's tired. I think she beats Jada, and then like maybe Fatal Influence attacks her after that match. And then so she goes into the main event injured. We get interference and she loses to she loses the title to Fallon next week. Because we talked about this last week when they did the double champion thing. They don't typically hold both titles for long. They either relinquish one quickly or they lose one quickly. This feels like it's designed to lose one quickly.
Yeah, just to get it off of her quickly and move on with whatever's going to happen with North American title and the women's championship. My point was she's going to be the fighting champion, which you liked, and then they were going to eventually get to Jordynne Grace for the NXT Women's Championship, probably at Stand and Deliver, which is fine by me. Meanwhile, Trick Williams won the underground match against Eddie Thorpe. Pretty quick match.
Good.
They did a sprint, and it wasn't bad. I didn't hate it at all. And then he calls out Oba Femi. Oba comes out. Javon Evans also comes out because the new Dark State, as they are now called, okay, they show up and they don't create havoc. They just watch havoc unfurl. But Trick, Oba, and Javon, it looks like Trick and Javon will have a number one contenders match at this point because I don't think they're going to do another triple threat. At least I don't think they should. It should be Trick and Oba one-on-one because people have been waiting for that matchup. I get that Javon is next up, or at least he's very highly regarded, as he should be. Wondering how this all plays out. I think Javon and Dark State is the start of it, and Trick and Oba is the main event at the Stand and Deliver show.
And Trick being the leader of Dark State crossed my mind last night. I thought they were going to pull the trigger on it last night, but they didn't. Instead, they just had them all stand in the ring, and then the brawl, and then Javon and Trick stand side by side as Dark State watched on. I legitimately thought they were, when the lights went down, I thought Trick was going to be revealed as the leader. It's still a possibility that that's where they go, but we shall see. Javon getting the cutter on Oba was instead of Trick. It was a little confusing at first. Trick kind of moved. Obviously, he meant to hit Oba. And I was like, why is he standing with Trick? Trick's been disrespectful. But I do like that from Javon. Of nobody's listening to him. He's trying to get people on the same page here. And look at these dudes. We gotta go after them. Instead, they're just worried about themselves. And him taking out Oba. I thought I should have taken out Trick as well. But instead, he stood beside Trick and was like, all right, we're gonna fight off Dark State if they decide to come down here. I thought it was a really good closing segment. I like that the match was short too. I don't think these underground matches should be long. If you're trying to simulate a real fight, real fights don't, some of them last, 25 minutes, but if you're doing it in a wrestling setting, it shouldn't last long. It should be relatively quick. So I liked it. When the bell rang and there was 10 minutes left in the show, I was like, oh, this is going real short because I don't think they're going all 10 minutes and that's how they're closing the show. So this is probably going 7 minutes and then they're going to do an angle afterwards. That's exactly what they did. So I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. And it was more of a sprint. They got to it and then they got to the segment with the main event, the title main event. I don't know if I like the idea of Javon Evans being the guy behind Dark State because Dark State's whole MO.
It's not Javon though. It's Trick.
Okay, Trick too though. I wouldn't put it to Trick either because the idea of Dark State coming out and saying we've been looked past, we've been disrespected, and blah blah blah. It's like, well, Trick hasn't been disrespected. He's been a champion twice. Yeah. He's never been looked past. He's always been at the top of the game. To me, it doesn't make sense for Trick to be the guy unless he's I don't know. There is no logical explanation unless he says, I've seen these guys working out. They deserve a shot. I'm going to give it to them. But even that is you're benevolent leader, but you're not because you're not actively getting these guys on TV. It doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather just have Dion Lennox just be the guy. Let him lead the stable. He's been on TV. He has at least some cachet. He's not super well known, but that's kind of the point of this group. They're going to take it. They're going to take what's theirs, and they don't need a leader. That's why the idea of doing Javon Evans makes a little more sense than Trick, but doesn't make much sense at all either. It should not be someone who is already established and on the roster and seen weekly on TV.
I'm fine if there is no leader. I'm completely fine with that. And I threw out Trick because Trick has not been attacked, and the last night setup made it seem like, oh, Trick could be the leader. I get your point of it too, of why would Trick associate with these guys? I think the way to basically spin that is Oba disrespected Dion and told him to kick rocks. And like, I didn't like how Oba did that. That's not how the NXT champion should act. You know, we should uplift people. It completely goes against what Trick has been saying to Javon, but it's a heel of saying like, we should uplift people, but the people I want to uplift, not Javon Evans. I don't want to uplift him. So I think there's ways to do it if Trick is the leader. I'm also cool if Trick is not the leader.
I see SB3 in the chat saying, I think the group sucks, to be honest. I understand that sentiment. The only thing I want to see is them get in the ring and have matches so that hopefully that will either change the perception of the group or at least the quality of the wrestlers, or it's going to solidify it. If you don't give them that opportunity and all it is we show up and we wreak havoc and we're beat down artists, like that doesn't last. But when you give these guys an opportunity to actually have a good match and deliver, maybe even stand and deliver, then I might be a little more bought into this. But as of right now, I'm just I'm sitting on the fence with it. And like I said, I understand why SP3 would say the group sucks. Give me something that makes me want to watch these guys beyond a beatdown.
Yeah, and I thought the promo last night was a good point to start at with that, because at least there was a mission statement to that.
Yeah, exactly. 10 minutes from now, we're going to be joined by Joe DeFalco from FSW talking about the Benefit For Bey and that big show that is going to include stars from all over wrestling: WWE, AEW, TNA, MLW, FSW. God, every single acronym you can think of. There's somebody there. Is there someone from NWA? I don't know. You'll find out. Let's hit a couple super chats. Cyclops is better than Wolverine saying, couldn't get up in the shoes and Jada stole her match.
Yeah, that was the downfall of the shoes for Jordan Grace. Is tough to get up after you got knocked down.
Yep, she was definitely struggling with that. And adding in, Cyclops says the men's main event scene is very ethnic. I love it. Hey man, you can tell there is definitely a stronger men's division building, and if it's on those three men, hell yeah, it's good with Oba. Trick is hopefully going to be moving up soon enough, but if Javon Evans is the guy who's going to come in and replace the status of Trick's popularity, I can see it, and that's good stuff. Hey man, if you like it, wonderful. Will Chisholm adding in, I'm surprised how over Stephanie okay, let's try and do this. I got to speak Chisholm, I'm sorry. I'm surprised how over Stephanie Vaquer and Penta is with WWE fans. Happy for them. For the audio listeners, it says Stephanie Years. Don't ask me why. He'll probably tell you autocorrect. And at which point I will say, get a new phone. I am happy for them, though. It's good to see that there is Latin talent coming in and doing exceedingly well.
I'm not surprised that either are over, honestly. Like the NXT, all the new people that come in are pretty over. Like it's a small venue. The NXT crowd knows these names from wherever they came from. Penta might be a little bit more of a surprise, but the presentation was so good that it was quickly to catch on. And whether you like it or not, like he's got a catchphrase, and the catchphrase stuff is going to work because it's very easy identifiable and it's very easily chantable. So anybody that comes in with a quick catchphrase like that, typically it works out for them upon their initial debut.
Tender's adding, well, listen, talked about Latin stars. Let's can't wait for GTA 6. Also, the Mania roast sucks. Well, NXT is also going to run that same venue. We'll talk about that in just a sec. And also saying Mania week looks like a RNC event. Good Lord. We know how you feel, Tenruza. I get it. Mania roast is happening. Let me put it like this. Fontainebleau is they're touting it as the official hotel of WrestleMania. But for some reason, they're putting all of the shittiest events at that hotel and an NXT on the Tuesday, which I appreciate because that'll be fun for people who are still in Vegas or around Vegas. They're bringing back that whole, like, we're doing, remember when it was like Raw on Monday, or it would be the view on the Sunday, Raw on Monday, and then SmackDown on Tuesday at the same venue, and they'd run 3 nights there. And then the Tuesday night, it would always be like the local crowd. All the people would have gone home. That's what's going to happen with this NXT on the Tuesday. People are going to be long gone. It's going to be done. But Fountain Blue's getting like every crappy event. They're getting, or expensive. Hall of Fame. They're getting the Taker One Man Dead show, which supposedly pretty good. They're getting this WrestleMania roast, whatever that's supposed to be. And they're getting, this NXT show, which will be good. They're getting screwed. And if you think you're staying at that hotel and the wrestlers are too, I got another question for you. Why do you think that?
The roast isn't going to be televised. When they tried to do that the roast of Ric Flair, that thing sucked.
So
and
bad.
I don't know how this is going to go. Sami Zayn is part of it. Paul Heyman, The Miz, and Braun Strowman. We've seen the Sami show. That was really good. Sami's a good performer with that stuff. Miz will be fine. Heyman will say stuff. I don't know how Braun Strowman's gonna do. I can't say I've ever seen Tony Hinchcliffe, like any of his shows, any of his material outside of what has made headlines for the wrong reasons. So that's all I know about him.
The connector point at this point is that he has a Netflix special coming, and WWE is very entrenched with Netflix. So that's part of the work together.
Yeah, and they got no problem giving people a platform. Sadly.
Well, I'd rather give this person our platform. If he's ready, he can give me a thumbs up. Our guest is here. He's given us a thumbs up. Very much looking forward to this. On Sunday, March 23rd, live from the Vail Pavilion, it's the Benefit For Bey. Very excited now to welcome to the show, FSW Zone, Joe. Joe, do you use your last name publicly? I want to make sure before I
Joe DeFalco.
Joe DeFalco. How are you doing this afternoon or morning?
Woke up a little early, but I'm good to go because we're on the West Coast and we're just trying to get the word out to as much as possible. One of the local television stations, Fox 5, we were fortunate that somebody who works there is a huge wrestling fan. So he reached out and they did an interview with Chris for about 30 minutes at the facility yesterday. They talked to me for a couple, and that's going to air Saturday night on their sports wrap up right before the show Sunday. They're also going to be there with a full crew on Sunday filming stuff. So what started out as something that, hey, I wanted to do this for Chris, who's been one of our best students, a guy who made it and wasn't like looking for that payday afterwards. It was like he was very respectful and thankful of what we did for him, and he was always there for us. So I felt this was the best opportunity to be there for him.
We're putting together a fantastic show, and really aligning the wrestling world. And I know since Chris Bey's injury, which happened in October, like the wrestling world has come together, and it always sucks that it takes events like this for everybody to come together. But he's been giving shout outs on WWE TV, AEW TV. And now we got on this show, we got Karrion Kross, we got Swerve Strickland, we got Ricochet from WWE and AEW. What's it been like just putting this card together?
Well, it's funny because, we knew people, and I knew people who happen to know Chris. And like back in the day, guys like John Morrison and Brian Cage, they were big fans of Chris and really pushed to get him signed in TNA back in the day. And we ended up forming a relationship when TNA came out here, when Jeff Jarrett and Sanjay Dutt were basically running TNA or Impact. And Sanjay stayed pretty close all the time. And I always tell the story that when Sanjay went to WWE, that's how Chris got signed in TNA, because they needed a match at a WWE 205 or something. And Sanjay saw Chris and he's like, hey, put Chris in there against Arya Daivari. And then literally after the match, 2 days later, TNA reached out and offered Chris the contract. And that bond and that relationship and everything putting together, and that's how crazy it is with the wrestling world, got Chris signed in TNA because Sanjay was in WWE. And then when this was getting started, I reached out to guys like John and Brian, because I still talk to them on a once in a while basis, and said we were trying to put this together. And Morrison was like, put me down. I want to be involved. And as I said, I thought it was going to be like, hey, Ace Austin will come out, Trey Miguel. We were going to do it at the FSW facility. We figured we'd get a couple hundred people there, raise a few dollars. It'll be cool. But then Cross wanted to get involved. And thankfully, WWE is very slow in getting things moving, that we couldn't do the show at the end of January when we thought about it. So now we moved it to March. And then all of a sudden, the floodgates opened and people are reaching out. And I even hit up Sanjay, who now works in AEW. And I had already gotten Morrison and Cage. He's like, hey, you want me to reach out to those guys? And I'm like, no, Sanjay, I got it. I said, but I'd love if you could reach out to Strickland, because Shane was the guy when I was doing shows in Phoenix. It was called the IWF, and the budget at the time was unlimited. And all these guys who were working PWG, Ricochet, Strickland, Chris Hero, all these guys I was using on a show in Phoenix, Arizona. Nobody in the world knew who they were. Ricochet and Swan worked FSW once against the Reno Scub. Nobody knew who these guys were. So I stayed in somewhat contact. Ricochet moved out here. He would come by the gym and use the facility. So conversations were had. And as we were doing the thing with Cross, all of a sudden the wrestling world reaches out. Sanjay, I said, hey, if you can get Strickland. Literally the next day, Shane Strickland hit me up without even talking to Sanjay, because he wanted to be a part of this. And then it was the Rascals, obviously, and Ace Austin. And then Rich Swann reaches out. And then, I talked to Rhino. And it was like, all of a sudden, it's like a who's who of the wrestling community. And then Brian Cage is like, hey, Melissa Santos, my wife would like to ring announce. It's like, okay. And then we got Sean T, who is the Revolver ring announcer guy, and he happens to live in Vegas. And then Justin Borden, who we used in the old IWF shows with Rick Knox, reaches out. And I'm like, Justin, love to have you. He does the New Japan. 2 hours later, Justin hits me up. Hey, Rick Knox wants to ref too. Is that cool? I'm like, who wouldn't want Rick Knox on your wrestling show? And it was just like, so we got ring announcers, we got referees, we got everybody who wants to be a part of this. And, AJ Francis is going to come on in to be in a battle royal. It's like there's going to be a 20 or 30 man battle royal, depending on, some of Chris's friends or people he helped train or did seminars with that he grew close to and helped out, are coming in on their own dime just for the little bit of being in a battle royal, just because they want to honor Chris.
So this is always interesting to me, because you're talking about all this talent wanting to come in and wanting to give back and wanting to help out with Chris and everything that he's been through. Typically, when you're doing a tribute show, a benefit show, something like that, matchmaking almost becomes up to the wrestlers. Is there anyone you want to work with? Was that the case here, or was this you're pitching like, I think maybe this would be the match for you? Like, what was that effort kind of looking like? Initially,
it was like, man, I could throw a dart, and I said I could write up 100 cards, and every card is going to be like, wow, this is great. These are great matches. These are great matches. And I'm like, before anything, Kenny King, who's one of my trainers, hey man, I want to work Swerve. I'm like, you're ghosting me. I'm like, dude, I'm not ghosting you. I'm doing a million things. I said, right now, putting the card together wasn't like the number one priority. It's finding out everybody who we're going to have first, Kenny. It's like, I haven't even got to that part of the card. So then like a week later, Swerve hits me up. He's like, hey, who do you got me working? I said, well, we haven't put it together yet, but Kenny was interested in wanting to work you. He's like, oh, Kenny would be great. Okay, well, why would I go against that? These guys are doing it. So at that point, I'm talking to Cage. And in my mind, I'm like, I know Cage always likes working a little smaller guys on independence because he wants to go. That's what Cage does compared to AEW. Like, he wants to do the cool matches. So it's like, so in my mind, I'm like, hey, Rich Swann, Leo Rush, those would be really good options. Rich Swann would be a number one option for me. I'm like, hey, Brian, I'm trying to put together the card. Who do you think you'd want to work on this show? He goes, hey, Rich Swann would be really cool. So it's like, well, like minds think alike. So now we got a couple of matches. I posted about John Morrison. Ace Austin had the bug eyes. Oh, I'd love to work John Morrison. So okay. And then it's like, well, we wanted a third guy. And then I sat with Chris Bey. And initially we had Leo Rush going in the match with like Danny Limelight and Frankie Kazarian and Ice Williams. And he liked Leo in the 3-way. So we moved it to that. And now it kind of like the card built itself in that manner. Obviously, we had the tag teams with the Rascals, and we were going to do, a regular tag, but makeshift chemistry, 2 young kids who are my tag team champions who have been helping Chris because Chris's girlfriend, Brittany, comes down and trains, and Chris has been helping her. And that's how we saw Chris a lot more. He's been coming down to the school, and they've been helping him. So he was excited of the idea of makeshift actually having a match, even though they're 22, 23-year-old kids on this mega card instead of it just being in the Battle Royal. So it's just like keeping everybody happy, Chris's ideas and stuff, my ideas and stuff. And basically that's how the card gets built. And then Cross, we had talked about numerous names. Rhino was an option initially. Then I reached out to Kevin and like, I've always wanted to see Cross and Matt Cardona. And Cross is like, oh, you want me to have Matt? I'm like, it's a benefit show. It's not my job or responsibility to be like, hey, you want to come and do a show for free? That has to be up to the wrestlers. I can't ask somebody to work a show and then say, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm not paying you. Are you cool with that? I want people who want to be there, who know what this is. If they want to be a part of it, they're going to reach out. Cardona, like Cage, has to go to Australia. But Matt had a show in Wisconsin the day before the 22nd, which means he would have to come to Vegas the 23rd to go back to Florida the 24th to go to Australia. So that kind of didn't work out. And Hammerstone had been hurt. And for any FSW fans know, Cross, Hammerstone, and Chris Bey are the 3 greatest FSW champions ever. And they all intertwined, not for like a year or so, but for like 5 or 6 years. Those 3 guys were the main events of our shows, And when I reached out to Hammerstone, the date became open, and he was 1,000% behind it because those 3 guys have also been guys that have always gone out of their way and showed extreme loyalty to the company and appreciated everything that I kind of did for them early in their careers.
So you touched on it a little bit. I'd like to get a little bit more insight. And my second part of the question, if you can't spoil it, completely understand. Like, how involved was Chris in putting things together? And will Chris be at the show and make an appearance?
Good question. So initially, when we planned on doing it in January, there was no thought in my head about Chris because he had not progressed at all at that point. At the end, he didn't come back to Vegas till almost Christmas time. And at that point, there had been very little progress. So in the January show, my thought process was Chris was probably not going to be there. But then miraculously over that next month, the progress had been tremendous. So when we were talking now in January, the idea of Chris being at the show was like 90%. But yes, Chris will be at the show. Spoiler alert, we're going to probably not have him come out till, late, probably the main event, after the main event, possibly. But yeah, Chris 100% is going to be behind it. I reached out to Chris, hey, give me your thoughts on the stuff. So Chris had some ideas about the Battle Royal. Chris had some ideas about putting different people in different spots. So I wouldn't say he had a ton, but he definitely was involved in some of those matches that you're going to see are because of Chris Bey ideas. And Chris has always been that guy. I like to say, if Chris didn't have a show, Indies or TNA, a lot of times you'd see him backstage at our school student shows and our regular high octane type shows that have, the regular main roster. And Chris would be there critiquing, and Chris would be there, talking. Chris would be there agenting matches. So Chris was always a hands-on guy in terms of giving back. And the fact that he loves wrestling so much, if he wasn't at a show, he was at our show. And Chris wouldn't be like, hey, am I getting paid for this? Or, if I needed him to do color commentary, great. If we had a casino show coming up that Chris was going to be on, he'd get on the microphone and cut a promo. Chris was never, hey, I need a little extra cash for this. Like, money was never really even discussed with Chris. When you start out, you're not being paid. And then all of a sudden you're getting some money and you're not paying dues anymore. And it would just slowly come up. And he's like, hey, hey, what can you do for this show? I'm like, hey, I can do this. He understood it was a school show. So Chris has always been, whatever I can do for him, awesome. And if I couldn't, awesome. It didn't stop him from being there. So, being involved with something Chris has done since pretty much day one. Kenny King trains a class on Wednesday. Kenny has other obligations and stuff. So Kenny's usually good for like 2 out of every 4 Wednesdays. And Chris would hit me up. Hey, is Kenny going to be in today? Is Kenny going to be in today? And if Kenny wasn't going to be in or some other trainer wasn't going to be in, Chris became like that designated hitter. So it would be like he would come in every other Wednesday or third Tuesday and help train class because he just wanted to be a part of it. Yesterday we did the interview, and all of a sudden I saw Brittany, and it was like an hour and a half later. I'm like, oh, you guys are still here? And they're like, yeah, Chris was working with Sin Bodhi and helping run the class because that's Chris.
You mentioned, we're working with talent from a bunch of different companies, contracted talent in many cases. That experience has got to be a lot to deal with. You talk about WWE kind of getting to you a little bit later and moving the show, a little bit down the road, which seems to be actually of benefit because now Chris is hopefully going to be able to be a part of it. Now, with that in mind, what was that experience like working with WWE and just kind of all getting on the same page to do something that they typically don't do with their talent?
Well, it's interesting because we've been involved a lot with the ID program and Gabe Sapolsky, and I've been dealing with him for years. So I know Gabe, and he'd come by the shows, and, he did a seminar a couple of years ago where, in most cases he's charging $100, but he knows a lot of our guys. Solo Sikoa trained with us. We trained him, Zoe Stark, Karrion Kross. So he was fully aware of us. So then Gabe decided to get more involved and do the ID stuff. So he asked us if we wanted to be a part of it. So I had dealt with them in a capacity, but now I had to deal with, first it was the medical and the HR, and it became indie wrestling. You can't really afford all the time to have paramedics and ambulances on duty and all that other stuff. So that became a major prerequisite to have Kross on the show. So I had to guarantee them we would have the 2 paramedics and an ambulance on site. Then once we got through that approval, then it became HR, and it had to deal with creative. It had to deal with, a bunch of little things that the paperwork had to get signed off on. Okay, now we got to go to Hunter, and he's got to approve that. Because Kross was so much behind this, he was a major influence. So it was around Christmas time, and it was like, okay, it's now New Year's. It's a week or so. I haven't heard anything from him for like 10 days. And then it was like sending another message, figure we're going to give everybody the holidays off. And then it was another week. So I reached out to Kevin. And then literally 2 hours later, I got an email finally back after 3 weeks from these guys. And, oh, sorry for the delay, blah, blah. And as Kevin said, they don't want to hear it from the wrestlers, because then if the wrestlers go to Nick Khan or Triple H, then all of a sudden, they might be in trouble. So since Kevin reached out, that kind of fast-tracked everything. And finally, after about 6 weeks, we finally got the paperwork, and then it was all done. And then I saw on it, I had to sign it, DocuSign, and then Nick Khan had to sign it, and that would make it official. So now it's 5 days later. It's like, hey, guys, we're trying to announce Kross for the show. Oh, yeah, Nick signed it. It's all good. And it was like, well, thanks for getting back to me. So it's like, that process, because I guess there's so many people involved in everything, it kind of took forever. We're actually waiting on 2 more WWE superstars that are expected to be at the show. Female talent that reached out. And also Rey Mysterio was going to work the show, which was crazy to me because he wanted to work. And he was trying to tag team with TJ Wilson, who hasn't wrestled in forever. And Kevin reached out and it was like, TJ was like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I just won't do any high flying stuff. I would just do mat stuff. So he was talking about tag teaming with Rey Mysterio to wrestle Dominic and Cross in the main event. But that became, hold on, we have the European tour. And that kind of put the kibosh in that. I think Bey was talking to CM Punk yesterday. And Punk was like, man, if we weren't on this tour, I would have worked the show. And it's like, well, if somebody would have told us, I would have moved it a week later.
No, because then they would have been like, WrestleMania is coming. We got to keep everyone fresh.
Right.
Oh man, hearing that, I know TJ and Natalia have talked very highly of Chris Bey and wanting to work with him. So it doesn't surprise me at all that if they could do it, they would try to be part of
right. Because if we had TJ, then Natty would have worked.
Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me at all that they would try to be part of that. That's amazing. You mentioned WWE ID, and FSW is hosting some WWE ID championship tournament matches as part of WrestleMania weekend. What has that relationship been like? And there's been a lot of stuff about the WWE ID program and working with promoters. So how's it been from your side of things?
Well, the minute I heard about it, I thought, hey, they got about 18 guys and girls on the ID program. 2 of them are ours. So none of the other schools that are ID schools, and I hit up Gabe, I was a little disappointed. It was like, because he had mentioned some stuff that's coming up in the future. So it's like, well, it'll be nice for us to be a WWE ID school. It'll help with, you would think, where people who want to train may want to help my business, which is cool because in the ID program, nobody's paying me to have these matches. I have to, pay. But Ice Williams is an ID guy who's been my champion forever, and he's been with me forever. So he's always going to be on the shows. So Gabe reached out, and the first match we did was one of the first ones, other than the Evolve one, was Jack Cartwheel versus Ice Williams. And we had to negotiate the rate because I'm like, how does this work? Am I paying for this? He's like, no, they'll cover the travel. You just have to figure out, what's a fair price. And I knew Jack from working a Future Legend tournament that we had, and I've used Jack in the past, and he had a rate, and I saw him, and his rate was X amount of dollars. So it's like, okay, well, this is a school show. I'm not really going to pay him that. And it's like, and he asked, that was the rate he asked if I would pay. And I'm like, well, nah, it's a school show, but Gabe wants this match. So it's their job to make it work. So we paid Jack what we felt was a fair price for a school show, what I would pay somebody of his talent that was coming in, the Danny Limelights of the world and the Hammerstones and all those guys, work for me at a certain price. So it's like, I never want to pay somebody who I feel hasn't done as much for FSW as a Hammerstone, a Chris Bey, a Danny Limelight, that I'm going to pay somebody else just to work my show. And if they're cool with it, great. And if they're not, sorry, no harm, no foul. So I hit up about being the ID school, and they presented the idea of, well, right now it's the Rikishi school, and it's Cody Rhodes' school, and it's Seth Rollins' school, which is kind of a beginner school. It's only a 12-week program. It's like, well, what about us? And, we're lurking, but this is part of what we hope. They say, hey, being FSW a part of the ID school is a big thing, and maybe we should have them in. And I actually gave Gabe the idea. I'm like, hey, what do you think Mania week? There's a lot going on. And I said, what if we did an ID only show? He's like, hey, that's a good idea. So Gabe always likes good ideas, just like we're doing the training camp and seminar with Gabe WrestleMania week because I pitched him to him. Because I'm always trying to come up with ideas that are creative, and everybody needs to make a few dollars here and there. So, plus it gets us noticed. And that's the number one key, because we're never going to make enough money, but getting on that radar and having FSW elevated. So when you go on Twitter and you go on Instagram, now all these people seem to know who FSW is. And the name Future Stars of Wrestling that people used to like laugh at, like, oh, well, they're not really stars. They're future stars. Why does anybody want to watch? But everybody that's come through our program, now that name is synonymous with everything. And it's like, wow, that's a really good name, which I used to fight with people in the beginning. It was like, oh, that's a stupid name. So hopefully it helps our brand get bigger. And working with Gabe, the ID guys are great. We brought in Marcus Mathers and Sam Holloway, and this is what I can afford to pay on have a show. Okay, we're there. So, and now these guys work for us at other times, so they're okay with it. There's certain people that are going to pay way more money, and everybody's going to work those shows, of course, but there's always value in working for FSW for them. So I'll get them at a better price, and it works for everybody. And hopefully the relationship grows to where when you see FSW, it says WWE ID School.
So Joe, before I let you go, I have a very important question. You're a Vegas guy. You know Vegas well. How are you? Do you know the restaurants in Vegas very well?
Yeah, mostly the ones that you'd want to know about, because the strip restaurants, So I don't make that kind of money to where I'm going to eat the same steak for $400 instead of $150.
So this is the problem. We're trying to figure out what 5-star restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip is hosting the John Cena lunch for $25,000.
I saw that yesterday, and it was like, but you got to remember, they're limiting it to only 20 people.
Oh, we get it. It's more, what is the 5-star restaurant? Because they're not going to tell you until you book it, and it's probably going to be
right.
Bus.
We did something similar back in the day. Casa di Amore is one of the best Italian restaurants in Las Vegas. And when I had Matt Hardy, and we did a dinner with Matt Hardy, and instead of charging $25,000, we charged $150. So, and
much more reasonable.
Yeah. And it was a great time. So for $25,000, man, I'll tell you what, that's going to be extremely interesting to see, because it is Vegas and it's people coming in for Mania, and it's going to probably be sold out.
5-star restaurant on the Strip. We got to figure out what it is.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me for some advice on, like, hey, where can we eat really good for not crazy prices?
That's a question for next time. But for now, we're talking about the show. It's going to be Sunday. Right. It's March.
If I find out, I'll make a surprise call in and let you know.
I love it. Listen, the link, it's always the same link. So if you get it, just pop onto the show. We're live 10 a.m. till noon Eastern every day. So,
oh, you mean I could just pop in any day I want?
Listen, yes, literally, you can. The cool. Link does not change. Click that link anytime from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, and you're more than welcome to join us.
Well, I'm going to hit up some of my wrestlers, and I'm going to say, hey, just hit this link, and you can just pitch the show.
Do it, please. Honestly,
yeah, why not? Give us
all more than welcome to join.
Yeah, give us
or what I could do is I can go on the Twitter and post the link, and then you can have all these crazy wrestling fans.
Then we will have to change the link.
Change the link. But the show it's Sunday. It's March 23rd. Future Stars of Wrestling are going to have the Benefit For Bey at the Vail Pavilion. WWE's Karrion Kross is going to be there. AEW is going to have Shane Strickland, John Morrison, Brian Cage, Lio Rush, TNA's The Rascals, Ace Austin will be there, Frankie Kazarian, Rhino Rich Swann, AJ Francis we know is going to be in that battle royal. Melissa Santos is going to be there as well. A lot of stars all coming together. It's a Benefit For Bey. You can watch it on Triller TV. I will say now that our super chats on Friday on this show, all of the super chats that we get, that's our fan donations, will be going towards the Chris Bey GoFundMe. I want people to know that right now. And Joe, before we let you go, is there anything else you want to plug ahead of this show?
Yeah, we have a donation account that's local from Nevada State Bank where people in Vegas. But also what we're doing is, we want to raise as much as we can. So instead of going to the GoFundMe, we want it to be the biggest check we can do. So we have, Venmo's FSW09. We got my email address, lvfuturestars@yahoo.com for the Zelle. Cash App is the $ FSW09. And if you send it to that way we can combine everything. We've had donations. The Cauliflower Alley Club's donating $2,500 to Chris, as well as, shockingly, the Nevada State Assembly Speaker, Steve Yeager, not the catcher from the Dodgers back in the day, but he found out about the show and he goes, "Hey, I'd like to help out. Can I donate $2,500?" And it's like, absolutely, which is basically covering most of the flights that I have to cover for the guys that are coming in. So it's like almost all the money that's going to be generated from the box office, the show's already going to be paid off by then. So we're hoping to raise a minimum of $25,000 at least for Chris. So
we can send the super chats through Venmo if that's easier.
Yeah, that would be great, because that way it would be like, hey, this is what's happened through our show, and do that, and I can, if you want, on the Twitter or on the account, I could send you that information, because I know I posted it on the Twitter page yesterday.
Yeah, I saw it on the Twitter page, and we'll make sure to add that to our description on Friday's show and today's show as well, so that way people can donate. But yes, all the super chats from Friday's show, we'll send that over after Friday's show.
Fantastic. We also got that trading card, that Raw Deal Indie card that's like $15 a piece. People are buying that. We're going to also have the 11x17 poster. That the one that you see is great, but Mikey, our graphics guys, got to add, Hammerstone and Ricochet and Sin Bodhi and hopefully the other two WWE superstars. So the poster will literally have everybody on it. So it's going to be, fantastic. We're looking forward to it. This is the real Forbidden Door. It's the only show in the world that has every single major company represented. So it's great.
It's amazing. We're looking forward to it on Sunday. Go watch it on Triller. If you can still get tickets and you're in the Vegas area or surrounding, go to the show.
Yeah, first and second row are already sold out. We added a third row and then a GA. So we're hoping for this to break our record, which was probably between the 10th anniversary and then the Brian Cage, Matt Hardy TLC match back in the day as the biggest wrestling shows we've done here in Vegas. So
absolutely wild. Joe, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Awesome. Great to be on.
Joe.
Anytime.
Looking forward to having you again.
I love to talk.
And that was the best part. We had a good conversation. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it, Joe.
Take care.
Take care. The one and only Joe DeFalco from FSW. That was a really fantastic conversation.
He's going to pop in the show like every single day now that he knows that this link, it's going to be awesome. I'm waiting for someone to do that too. Like, they know the link is static, so they can join at any point. We haven't had anybody just randomly pop on outside of maybe Cole. Cole will do it every now and again just to, because we got heat. But otherwise, I'm waiting for someone to just pop on like that. Joe's fantastic. We appreciate him joining us. We've been in contact the past couple of weeks. He reached out to me of like, hey, we announced this show. We get some coverage of it. I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, let me know anytime you announce thing. I'll make sure to run stuff on the website. And so we've just been in contact throughout since the show was announced, and we've ran a lot of stuff on the website. So it was really great to get him on, and got a lot of good insight as well, and into putting the show together and stuff that sadly fell through. I mean, hearing Rey Mysterio and TJ Wilson teaming against Dominic and Karrion Kross would have been. So I thought about that when he mentioned Kross was on the show, which was already previously announced. And then Kross was obviously on Raw on Monday. He was in Brussels. Like, they're in the middle of this tour right now. So obviously Kross is coming back to do the show. And hearing Punk wanting to do it. Punk's obviously going to be on SmackDown on Friday and probably Raw on Monday. So him flying back and forth, I don't know, probably made it difficult for a lot of people to do it. But hearing that, Ray wanted to work it and all these other guys was was really cool to hear that a lot of people wanted to work it. And it's good that Chris Bey is going to be there, and it's good that he's involved with everything. And it's good to just hear that he is just involved in general and seemingly doing well with everything. I know he's got the interview with Van Vliet that drops tomorrow. Joe mentioned they did the local interview that drops on Saturday. So it's good that he's involved with stuff and seemingly doing well after everything.
It's very funny that like in this weird, silly, stupid way, WWE's lack of response and involvement led to this opportunity to have Bey be more front and center and available for this particular show. I'm not going to sit here and be like, WWE save the show. No, it's not. They still drag their feet. But if there's one little benefit that came from it, it's the fact that they're a little further along and Bey is in a position now to make a public appearance if he so chooses. And he's been, again, you mentioned he's going to be on Van Vliet's show tomorrow. They're dropping the episode, and then the local Fox affiliate doing the interview. That's going to show. And Joe mentioning that Chris is going to be at the show, physically available there. It's good news, man. I'm really happy to see it. It's so wild to me. He said it. This is the real Forbidden Door. This is the first show of its kind that, not the first, but definitely the latest of its kind to include talent from every major company. Pretty cool stuff. I'm glad that we got to have that chat because Joe brought it. That was a really, really good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. It was great. It was great to have Joe on. So shout out to FSW, and they're one of the best independent promotions out there too. They get a lot of really good talent on their shows, and they always have throughout the years. So everyone, beyond the Chris Bey show, should be checking them out.
Yeah, and again, it's available on Triller. So if you are someone who subscribes or uses Triller, that is one place you can watch the show. And if you're in that area and you want to go over to Vegas and go watch the show, the tickets are still available. So go do that. Shall we continue with literally everything else we had to talk about?
Is it time? Joel?
Almost. Tenruz had sent us a super chat earlier saying with how much money he would make elsewhere, I'm surprised the apparent socially aware Sami Zayn is still with the WWE. Him on the roast is meh/ew. Now, I'm never going to say, what a millionaire or what a wrestler's artistic opportunities are, what they want to do. Sami being a part of this could easily be, I want to do my comedy show. It could be something more than that or less than that. I'm not going to hate on Sami for it. This was his decision, or maybe it wasn't, and he's going to say so. We don't know. He's being promoted for it. To what degree? I don't know. Yeah, I don't really care. He's doing it. It's his decision.
I'm not going to speak for Sami Zayn. If he wants to do it, that's him. You can talk to Sami Zayn about that.
How many bootstraps can I pull up to tell the story of WrestleMania? Sorry, it's the Braun Strowman part that I'm really curious about. Does he have jokes? I don't think he has jokes, but I guess we'll never see the light of day. I think they're going to pouch phones at this event too, because it's not televised. We talked about that. I would imagine phones. I think they're going to do that, just like the Sami shows. Same thing.
Yeah, I would imagine they will. They do that at most comedy shows. That's not anything out of the ordinary, and people should not be surprised by it.
No, not at all. And I'm sure when they find out, people will raise a stink. They'll be like, "Oh, I can't believe they're going to say all this stuff." And it's like, no, it's just they didn't want that. But really, the big story here is people aren't giving RJ City his flowers, because this whole thing, this was an RJ City thing. He wanted to do SummerSlam After Dark. He wanted to do, post shows that made fun of the events, or at least drew attention to like the comedy of it. And WWE never did it. But now they're doing it. Bless RJ City. Man is ahead of his time in so many ways, but also behind the time, because he literally cannot make a reference to like modern day anything. So God bless.
He tweeted "fuck you" to the Fightful account yesterday,
as is tradition.
So there's an RJ City story, everybody. This is not like a personal interaction with him or anything like this or anything like that. I was listening to this RJ City podcast, as one does. It's with Allison Rosen as your new best friend. Really fun podcast that I only listen to when RJ City's on. Sometimes Dalton Castle appears on the show. But RJ's talking about how he makes fun of The Undertaker. And this relates to your comment about RJ wanting to do the After Dark thing. The Undertaker on his podcast last year at some point mentioned like, oh, it'd be fun, like a roast, a WrestleMania roast. Yes. So maybe Undertaker stole this from RJ City, and then now RJ has more reasons to make fun of the Undertaker. But RJ's talking about like making fun of the Undertaker. He's like, I've done it for years. Like nobody ever really paid attention. And then one time I called him weird, and it became a headline. And all of a sudden, people were like, "Why is he making fun of RJ? Why is he making fun of the Undertaker?" And he's like, "I had way better material for the Undertaker. Go back and listen to that stuff. It's way funnier than me just calling him weird." For some reason, this thing stuck out. And I'm like, it stuck out because I wrote a headline about it. No one ever wrote about RJ City and his opinions on the Undertaker until I did, and then it became a thing. And so then RJ talking about wrestlers doing podcasts. He's like, I get it. You got to do a podcast a week. It's very easy to just shit on everything. And that's just the low hanging fruit of things. Like I listen to criticism. Some of it's very fair, but then you just got the guys who are just going to shit on everything. And so I wrote a headline on that. And that's what he replied, "Fuck you" to. I was very generous with my headline too, because my headline was like, RJ City says some criticism is fair, but it's just easier to shit on everything. I wanted to go with RJ City, retired wrestlers got to do a podcast a week, and the easiest thing to do is shit on everything. I was like, is he going to find that like I'm not being fair to him, especially when he talked about it's so much just headline bait and engagement, and people just blow up a headline to make it anything. It's like, I don't want to do that, since that's literally the topic that he is discussing. I feel like RJ has a good sense of humor with this stuff and like doesn't take it too personal and understands. So I wasn't, when he wrote back, "Fuck you," like I wasn't like, oh God, RJ City hates me now. I just replied with a heart, and he liked the heart. So I assume we're on good terms. I like RJ City. I think he's hilarious. And if we do have an issue, I mean, we've DM'd before. He can message me. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I don't think we do. RJ, if you're listening, I love you.
He ain't listening.
I know.
Last thing before we dig into Dynamite tonight, because we're talking about all these WrestleMania appearances and non-appearances, Alexa Bliss no longer scheduled to appear at WWE World. That came out late last night, early this morning, that she is apparently not scheduled to be at WWE World anymore for Vegas. That's newsworthy in a way. She hasn't been on TV. She's been at home throughout the European trip. We don't know if she'll be back on TV before Mania at this point, but no Bliss. I know there's one person in the chat who's going to chime in. Alexa Bliss Gamer, I'm listening to you. I know you're crying, but it's still newsworthy to us, so we're putting it out there.
Yeah, sorry, Alexa Bliss Gamer. I hope we didn't completely ruin your day with that.
That person probably knew before us.
Probably.
Oh, look at that. Say his name and he appears. God bless. Fantastic. Yeah, someone had tweeted out to Fanatics, "Hey, I can't find Alexa on your page. Where is she?" And Fanatics said, regrettably, Alexa Bliss is no longer attending. Send me a DM if you have any questions. Don't send the DMs to the person. It's just if you have questions about other things. We haven't seen Alexa Bliss since the Elimination Chamber, and we don't know what that means for her involvement at WrestleMania, if any.
I mean, she just signed a new deal. I don't think she's going anywhere or anything. So, yeah, who knows what it means. If she's not on this tour, then like this tour is a big part of WrestleMania. So the people on this tour are probably going to be the people who are kind of involved heavily at WrestleMania. And the people not on this tour, they might not be at WrestleMania.
I mean, she could just, show up at the TNA Unbreakable show, go after the Knockouts Championship. There you go. Right? I don't know. I thought that there's been multiple people talking about multiple styles of matches. They could have been doing the women's tag title match between Liv and Raquel against Alexa Bliss, and maybe reuniting with with Nikki Cross. There was talk about maybe doing a big Wyatt's versus Judgment Day story for WrestleMania. It's all up in the air right now, but usually when there's smoke, there's fire, and her being pulled from World could mean something, or maybe it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Please don't do Alexa versus the system. The last thing I want to see is Alexa versus the system. Alexa versus Alicia Edwards, though. That would be funny. I'd like to see that. AEW Dynamite is tonight's live from Jeremy's favorite city to shit on, Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha.
AEW Championship is on the line. The World Championship is on the line. It's a street fight. Jon Moxley puts his title up against Cope in the rematch of the century. People feel certain ways about it. This is for the 3 matches announced. That's a pretty stacked show. But that's the main event, presumably the main event. Moxley and Cope. Is it time, Jeremy?
Joel, you see the headline under my name there?
Yeah.
RFC.
I know exactly what that is. Raleigh Fried Chicken. Not
Rally.
Okay.
Stop it, Joel. Rally for Cope. 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 New AEW World Champion Cope. Tonight. Make it happen. Make it happen, Tony Khan. Don't be a coward. RFC. Rally for Cope.
I don't think they're going to do it. I think it'd be a big shock if they did it.
You're cowardly.
Well, it's not my call.
Cowardly.
RFC. It sounds way too much like other things. So
That's
just
Rally for Cope.
Yeah, good to get the full name out there. Cope versus Moxley is on the docket for the world title. We got Megan Bayne versus Chris Statlander. That's a match that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun watching those 2 women beat the crap out of each other. And the AEW International Championship Eliminator Tournament Final, because you got to pick the longest possible name for a 4-way match. Speedball Mike Bailey, Orange Cassidy, Mark Davis, and Ricochet in the Who Will Pin Mark Davis for a shot at the International Championship match. I think Speedball wins.
Yeah, probably Speedball.
He's been hinting about the chase of Kenny Omega. So this is it.
It's got to be Speedball or Ricochet. And there's more story to tell with Ricochet. And the weeks leading up to Dynasty, the story with Speedball and Kenny is just, here's 2 really great wrestlers. They're going to have a great wrestling match, which nothing wrong with that. I know they have the whole Speedball's been chasing for 10 years. Like, there's something there, but there's a lot more there with Ricochet, who has a very well-established heel persona, and Kenny has a very well-established God of Wrestling persona. So I just think there's more there if they decide to go with Ricochet, but that's probably something they can also revisit down the line. I hope they have something for Ricochet if he loses this match, because the work he did in the Swerve Strickland feud was the best work of his career. So for him to not be on Dynasty, which, by the way, in Philadelphia, he's an Eagles fan. Like, he can kind of play babyface, but sort of dickish babyface. It's still a heel with the Eagles. It would be a shame if he's not on this card at all. So I hope they have something for him if he doesn't win this match.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
Where do you know where Speedball Mike Bailey currently makes his residence?
No.
In Philadelphia. Well, not Philadelphia, but in Pennsylvania, in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm not saying that that's part of the story, but I just find it funny that you went there and you didn't know, but also most people don't know. But anyway,
Ricochet is very open about he's an Eagles fan. He wore the Eagles hat. So that's why. Look, if Speedball faces Kenny, that's fine. My point is, I think you got to have something for Ricochet for this show. Not only take Philadelphia out of it. I'm talking about just the work he's done. You got to have something for him. I don't care where the show takes place. I think that adds to it because of the Philly connection and everything. But I'm just talking about the overall work he's done since with the Swerve feud. It would be a shame if he did all that work and then he can't get on the next pay-per-view.
I agree. And again, this is why I think that a Ricochet and Orange Cassidy feud would be a little better for now. Ricochet would beat Orange Cassidy. That's a pretty big moment. That's the way I would go, because Orange Cassidy is pretty well protected when it comes to AEW and one-on-one matches. So I think getting a big win, a singles win over him, could be made to be to feel big. Ricochet and Kenny should happen. I've said it here before and I'll say it again. I don't think losing the number one contendership for the world title and then winning a 4-way to then lose lose a shot at the international championship. I think that looks bad on Ricochet. Even if he can talk his way out of it, I would give it a little more time between opportunities with Ricochet. Let him build up as an undeniable to go after, whichever champion, but after getting a few statement singles victories. Orange Cassidy on pay-per-view, to me, that's a pretty big opportunity and a pretty big win if that's the way it goes. And Speedball and Kenny is, no one's beating Kenny until All In Texas. That's the reality of it, unless they do a hot potato. But like, it looks like Kenny's going to take this title into Texas, and that's July. So you got to make something interesting while still making it feel like Kenny's going to have that title for the time being. Speedball match with him looks pretty good. And then you do with Speedball what you do. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
But really, the whole point of this is Mark Davis eats the pin.
Most likely, I would imagine so.
What if Mark Davis wins the match? And then it's the Don Callis family versus Kenny Omega, something we've never seen before.
They'd be very bold to have Mark Davis win this match. Very, very bold. And I mean, I just called them cowards because they're not going to put the title on Cope. This would be the opposite of being a coward because, yeah, Mark Davis winning would be something else.
In Omaha, I'm sure people will be very in their feels over that. No stakes can be so high. That's tonight's Dynamite. That's what's on the docket. I'm sure they're going to announce 3 other things between now and Showtime because that's
they mentioned that there's like a blizzard in Omaha. Tony Khan mentioned this, and so a lot of people they're still trying to figure things out. He said everybody that's already been announced, which is the stuff Joel just ran down. Did you mention Statlander and Megan Bayne?
Yeah, we very quickly we're just like it's going to be 2 women being the shit out of each other, and that's going to be fun.
Okay. Yeah, so Tony Khan said that like everybody who's already been announced is good. They'll be on the show, but they're still trying to figure everything else out. So yeah, you'll probably get match announcements at like 5:00 today. But honestly, like between these 3 matches, it's a strong enough card to where it's like, all right, well, you're getting these 3 matches, and whatever else is added will hopefully be good on top of that. But it seems like it's a difficult situation with the travel, so I can't hold that against them.
Yeah, Henry's adding that's why they never announced Billy versus Monet. I think that's going to be a collision match for the
collision. Well, I mean, maybe, but collision's being taped tonight, so
yes.
If you have that, I mean, sure, you can put it on collision. It's not that big of a deal. I would, but if you have it, I mean, you can put it on Dynamite as well. But since it's being taped tonight, if the issue is one of them can't make it, then you can't tape it for collision either. So it doesn't really matter because collision's being taped tonight. And if one of them is not there, it's not going to be on collision.
They're going to get there. Who are we kidding? Tony,
I hope everybody gets there.
Yeah, exactly. Tony will send out the jet and the helicopter for Mercedes.
I hope they get there. But yeah, I didn't include Mercedes and Billy in the rundown because they're not advertising on the website. There's no official match graphic for it. So I don't know if it's going to happen. They might not know if it's going to happen. Yeah,
they'll do a sleigh pulled by Huskies. That's the answer right there. Shout out to Zeno Hour for thinking Mark Davis's nickname was Drunkzilla when it's Dunkzilla.
I think he rules.
He does rule, but
who is Drunkzilla? Somebody has that nickname.
Unfortunately, we lost him 3 years ago.
Oh.
Hey, yo. Anyway, that's the end of the show for this week. And I say that lovingly because Scott was fantastic, but he was Drunkzilla. Who else could be Drunkzilla this day and age? Chris Jericho. Jeremy, anything to plug?
A little bit of the bubbly.
A lot of it if you're really thinking of it.
Rally for Cope, everyone. I want to see everyone use the hashtag RFC or use the hashtag Rally for Cope and make sure you tag Tony Khan as well. Let him know Cope, that's his name, Cope, should win the AEW World title tonight. We don't want to wait until Dynasty. We don't want to wait until next week. We want it tonight. We want Cope to be the AEW World Champion tonight. Live Dynamite, 8 p.m. Eastern, TBS, simulcast on Max. The Avs are playing at 7 o'clock, and I'll be watching that. Who could fucking care about AEW? My wife is asking, why did you become such a big fan of Cope? I'm alarmed. I've always been a fan of Cope. What? What are you talking? Cope. Cope is my guy. You'll never catch me in the next man's sweater, and you've never caught me saying a bad word about Cope. I've always rallied for Cope. RFC. Rally for Cope.
Yeah, rally for Cope, but Edge was a completely different scenario. It's a very different.
Don't know who he is. I only know Cope.
Good. Edge is a guitar player with U2.
Yes.
Yeah. You weren't a big fan of his.
They have the Bono. They have the Edge. Who else is part of U2?
Adam Copeland.
Cope.
That's right. Actually,
can you name all the members of U2?
Larry Mullen, Edge. Is it Adam Clayton?
Adam Clayton.
Hold on, now
Let's
I'm looking it up.
Hold
Okay.
on. Oh, I got it.
Okay, got it. Yeah, Larry Mullen Jr., Adam Clayton,
Look at
Edge,
you.
Bono. There you go.
All right. Can you name all the members of the Beatles?
George, Paul, Ringo, and Pete Best. George, Paul, Ringo, and
There's Paul McCartney.
Yeah, and John.
Ringo Starr.
You got
John
the
Lennon.
live ones. Okay, yeah, there's Lennon.
John Lennon. James?
No, we've done this, haven't we? I feel like we've played this bit before.
Cope.
It's Cope, yes.
Cope is one of the Beatles.
That's exactly it. By the way, tonight more than any other night, go Avs. Absolutely. I hope the Avs.
Is they're playing the Leafs?
Yeah,
we play the
Sens
Senators
tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, is it tomorrow? I didn't realize it
Yeah,
was
it's
back
the next
to back.
night. Yeah, it's back to back.
No, like
Have fun with that,
the
or
woo.
don't. Just
Do
go
the
watch
woo.
the show. Go.
Zeno Hour mentioned the woo. Nothing to fuck with.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Chase U. Oh,
Leave
all
the
right.
memories alone.
Back tomorrow. Joey Janela is not Drunkzilla. He has been sober for quite a while. Very happily.
Have you seen Joey tweeting?
What is he tweeting?
He's a WWE bootlicker now.
Oh my God, no! I have to hold on. What's his? I have to look up his actual stupid name. What is he?
It's Janela, baby.
Janela,
Janela, baby.
Stupid shadow ban. Oh God.
He tweeted.
This rules.
He's a full-on WWE bootlicker.
This freaking rules. Dude, this is gonna all turn into like Joey Janela versus what's his face? Bully Ray. That's what this is gonna turn into. Either as a tag team or a matchup. Who knows? Joey versus Bully on the next episode of In the Weeds.
I hope he comes out at spring break and does like full stand up for WWE. He's got like the hat and he's got the stand up for WWE and he does that and kneels down. He should 100% do it.
Wow, this should be so funny. I'm going to skip the next line. WWE and comedy equal gold. I'd like to try out. Here's my joke. What will light up Allegiant Stadium in 4 weeks? A wrestling match. Screw you, Joey Janela, taking my jokes.
Hold on, I'm going to tweet at Joey.
Tell him to come and do his best work with us.
Hold on, I'm gonna tweet at Janela during spring break 9. Then I'm gonna have the photo of the stand up for WWE dude.
I'm sure you can find it.
I already got it. It's very quickly
Oh,
going.
man.
I hope he retweets it and
Oh, this rules. Oh my god.
I want. We should get Joey on. He's probably gonna be busy as shit Las Vegas week, but maybe the week before we'll get Joey on. He needs to just do full WWE is great bit. I would roll.
I think we need to do it. All right, we're back tomorrow. Jeremy and SP3 are here, 10 a.m. Eastern. You're either going to be very, very happy that Cope won, or you're going to be very, very sad that Cope won. Regardless, we'll be here, 10 a.m. Eastern. I won't. Jeremy and SP3 will. They're going to cover everything AEW. And then we come back Friday. We'll do the same thing again.
Get ready for the thumbnail to be the new AEW World Champion, Cope.
John Cena.
C. Oh, how do a P? I can't do it. P. E. Cope. I was trying to only do it with one hand instead of two. Like, all right, P there. I was just trying to do something like I want a setup there.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Rally for Cope.
Ladies,
Rally for Cope.
Gentlemen, friends,
Rally for Cope.
see you in the next one.
Rally for Cope.
Cheers.
Rally for